for him more than I liked caddying for Paul. I love caddying for Paul, don't get me wrong.
How much would you pay to play disc golf? And like, to me, that kind of gives me an idea about like what these elite courses, this is where I'm going back to, it gives me an idea about what these elite courses could or should charge.
If I was to go to Europe and play the Beast, I would happily pay $50 because
There you go.
That's the experience of it. Yarva, on the other hand, is one of the most beautiful looking courses in the world, and it would be a dream to play there. If I had one opportunity, only had to play one round there, I honestly would probably pay $100
There you
just
go.
to say I've played Yarva disc golf course.
$100.
Anywhere else though, I've never looked at another course and said, yeah, I would totally pay that much.
For me, if I can play a free course or I can choose to play a course that's $40, I will do the $40 course every now and
Every
then.
so often. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? John Browder, you did get the first comment tonight, so congratulations. There's no prize for that, but we're excited that you are joining in with us. I just wanted to quickly say how much Matt and I appreciate everybody tuning in throughout the whole show. There's a lot of craziness going on in the world right now, so we're very happy that you're going to take a couple hours.
We're still alive.
Yeah.
We're still
Yeah.
alive, or at least for another day.
Exactly. We just want to say thank you for tuning in, taking time out of your Thursday night to check us out, and then throughout the week on all your podcast channels. I say every single week, Matt, that tell someone you love them. So right now I'm going to say, look, Matt and I love you guys. We appreciate you tuning in. So,
Dude, last week someone's like, Nick is just waiting for the day that Matt says, I love you, Nick. And I'm like, that actual episode, it was that actual episode I listened and I did say earlier on. So
at some point, exactly. So anyways, let's talk podcast. Let's talk disc golf. That's what we're here for, Matt.
we got Chris Dickerson in the green room right now.
Spoiler alert.
Yep. He's going to be on in about 5 minutes from now. What else are we talking about?
We are going to talk about potential big time sponsorship moves.
Yeah. A lot of people think with COVID this year that it's possible there's not a lot of moves, but I'm thinking that there's still going to be something. And we're going to talk about that. And Nick and I have kind of put out feelers.
Mm-hmm.
Can't say that we're going to be, we can't say who.
Everything's kind of in the rumor mill. We're not really 100% sure. Sometimes we might think we have more.
I was a little surprised what I saw online today. So meaning even some stuff's public out there.
Very interactive.
We're going to talk about maybe jump putting. That still seems to be an interesting topic that people have. I heard a really creative idea, Nick, and I'm not saying it's good, but I thought it was creative and totally worth talking about. So we'll bring that up.
It's so funny. The circle 1, circle 2 subject always comes up, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, you can't really say like what is circle 2," and I don't know. It'll be fun to talk about at the end of the show.
Yeah, for sure. So then we're going to talk about, well, a little bit of everything. We're going to do Judge That Disc Golfer with Chris. And we also, maybe we'll talk a little bit about money and disc golf. And like,
are people disc golf rich now? What's going on?
Is the term disc golf rich? Does it need to change now to have a different definition? Because the definition to date, disc golf rich, it's like a funny thing to say, right? Like you won $50 at a tournament, disc golf rich, baby.
Yeah.
So
you have the gas money to get home now.
There's things happening in the disc golf world right now that are making us think about money. And even in my personal life, Nick, I'm going to spill the beans where I have the opportunity to get disc golf rich. You got to hold on till later in the show. Nick's looking at me right now. Like,
I haven't heard this one yet.
No, you have not. Yeah. So again, 3,000 subscriber giveaway on YouTube. If you're listening on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you are, we totally appreciate you. Nick, I had someone write us this week, and if this guy's listening right now, totally appreciated it. He wrote us and he actually said, "Hey man, you could do a better job."
Nice.
But he said it in a very respectful and positive critique way. And I said, "You're totally right." I feel like I've come a long way. I feel like you've come a long way. And I try not to cut people off as much. So anyways, we totally appreciate the insight.
We do.
But we are getting better, and we totally appreciate everyone who's been here since the beginning. So, all right. I think we are very close here. I don't know if Chris is still sitting there in the green room. I think he's taking a little break while we got our intro going. But if he's there,
we told we give him like 5 to 10 minutes.
We'll just wait until he pops back on. So, So here's where we're at with it. We are going to bring Chris in. We're going to ask him some questions that we think people would like to know about, and we are just ready to do that right now. And
I was gonna say we have our man. He
All
came.
right.
He came onto the screen.
All right. So what we'll do is we'll bring him in because it looks like he's totally ready now. It's been a long day for him, I'm sure. All these interviews, demands of the rich and famous,
Yeah.
if you will. So
Chris Dickerson, Disc Golf Rich. Tune in.
Yeah, that is an interesting topic. So Chris, first of all, I saw you at MVP Open. We had you on our show as a participant in the Judge That Disc Golfer. You were the Judge Disc Golfer. A lot's happened since then, including, let's just get it out there, current and reigning U.S. champion.
Whoa, spoiler alert.
Yeah. Tell us about what went into that, because I think I saw a post out there that said that was one of your goals for the year. Can you kind of walk us through like the event and how it played out for you and everything that's kind of come as around that? Like, talk as much as you want. Oh, hold on a second. I'm sorry.
Oh, hold on, Chris.
Yeah, hold on.
Matt, technical difficulties.
What did I do?
Did you mute him?
It shouldn't be muted. Okay. I'm sorry if that's the case.
The thing says muted. Can you click that?
Where does it say muted?
Like where it says their name? Right.
What?
Oh, it just went away.
How about now?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So Nick, first of all, it wasn't my bad.
It's always our bad. No, don't blame Chris.
Oh yeah, it's not Chris. So we asked the question. You heard the question, right?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and give us what you got. I think that's really interesting to hear about.
Okay. So, yeah, as far as the tournament, I didn't really keep, looking at UDisc or anything up until the last round. So even the second round, I didn't know where I was at until I finished, obviously. And that was really the first time I knew I had to lead. It may not have been the second round. It might have been the third.
Okay, I think it was. Yeah, I think third round. Was Calvin leading after the second? No, I'm sorry, not Calvin.
Not
Calvin.
Eagle.
Eagle. Yeah.
It was Eagle. Yep. Yeah, Eagle was leading after the second, and I found out after the third that I was leading.
Gotcha. And you said at the beginning of the year that you were going to win the 2020 USDGC.
Or that was a goal.
Yeah, that was a goal. Well, you kind of did say I'm going to win this. Like, how did that come up? Like, what gave you that mentality, like that you were going to win it?
I like playing a lot of par fours and par fives instead of just these wide open par threes.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there are a few out there. But if there's a reason that I'm going to like Winthrop, it's because of the par fours and fives, having to think about your shot and where you're going to place it in the fairway to get to your next shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really like the open style of play, but I do like the mental side of it behind that.
Yeah, so it kind of, with all the ropes being there, it kind of takes out, it's not just a wide open course. You do have to land your shot where you need to land it. In order to be inbounds, not in the hazards, not out of bounds or anything like that. But when did you feel like during that tournament, I can't remember where you sat after the first and second round, but you kind of obviously started gaining momentum in the third round, and you were murdering the course. Kind of like where did that confidence build up just throughout the round? Were you just feeling to the point where you're like, any shot I make, any putt I throw is going to go in at that point?
It kind of did feel that way. It felt like, I was stepping up to every shot and I had confidence behind it, and I didn't feel, anything about messing up the shot.
Mm-hmm.
So, actually the only, up until the last round, the only hole that I really felt nervous on was 17.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's got to feel nervous on 17.
Right.
You could be in last place and still feel nervous on 17. I don't know.
What was your gameplay going into the 17 in that round? I mean, did you know what you were going to do before you got to the tee pad?
Going into the last round?
Yeah.
So I did know what I was going to do going into that, but obviously depending on what Calvin was doing at the time, like I said, I didn't check UDisc until about halfway through that last round. So going into that hole, my game plan was to just bail out to the right side, the bigger part of the green, and just lay up, take a three. But if the situation would have been a little bit different, I could have tried to play it a little more aggressive and trying a little harder to get the two. But honestly, I'm not a fan of that hole. So doing that would have made OB a lot more of a factor.
Are you not a fan of it because of the huge momentum swings that it has on people's rounds? Like, what don't you like about that hole? Because I personally don't think it's the greatest hole in disc golf, but at the same time, it's caused some of the greatest moments in disc golf, especially when it comes to obviously the USDGC, but the final round.
Right. I'm going to quote. Well, I'm going to try and quote Jeff Spring whenever I said this. It doesn't really matter if the person that is messing up, if you like that person or not. People like drama.
Mm-hmm.
So hole 17 is made for drama, just because the hole itself sets up for it. The rules around the hole set up for it. The way, for everyone out there who doesn't know how it's played as far as the rules, you have to come to rest on the island. But if you don't, you have to keep throwing until you land on the island. So you go 1, 3, 5, 7. After 7, you can play it from the drop zone on the island.
And what's the drop zone to the island at that point? Like 150 feet? Do you know how far the distance is?
I don't.
Like,
I thought it was on the island.
Could someone? Yeah.
Well,
could someone? Oh, is it drop zone?
So there's different.
I thought that was the layup zone.
FPO plays different, I think. So let me ask, what do you think? Is this mean to do, or did you not watch it back? What do you think about what happened to Calvin? Did you watch that back and see what happened to him on the final round when he was putting?
I didn't watch it until maybe a couple weeks after. Somebody showed me the video, but I had heard what happened, and honestly, that sucks.
Yeah,
you hate to see that happen, but I kind of understand that. I kind of know how he feels because what happened to me at Ledgestone a couple years ago.
What was that at Ledgestone?
So I was battling with Nate Sexton, and it came down to hole 18. I think he had me by a stroke, but I threw a good drive. I threw a good sidearm up shot, and it skipped up above the basket maybe 25 to 30 feet at the most, but it rolled, and it rolled to the basket, rolled past the basket, all the way down into the water.
Oh, no.
And, I mean, just that one shot took away any chance for a win, even though I was only one stroke behind.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to the final round, it was pouring. Like, literally the rainiest rain I've ever seen, at least at a major, probably for sure. What were you thinking when that rain was taking place?
So, yeah, that was probably the hardest rain I'd ever played in. But, there was one tournament where I played in a more constant rain. We started a 27-hole round, and it rained from the first tee to the very last putt. And it wasn't a light rain. It was a decently hard rain. But as far as the hardest rain, absolutely last round of USDGC.
So was there any way to prepare for that? Like, you guys obviously knew that it was going to rain. You brought umbrellas, you brought your raincoats and everything like that. But did you bring enough towels? Did you feel like your hands were at all dry or anything like that?
There were times I felt like my hands were dry. I think so. I had a second towel in my bag, and I kept it in a plastic bag so it wouldn't get wet. I think on hole 9, on the tee pad of hole 9, I decided to finally use the other towel instead of trying to get the disc almost dry with the one I had been using.
So you're saying you won the 2020 USDGC in the final round with 2 towels in the worst rain that
Two,
we've seen at a major?
two, yeah, 2 towels total.
So
They are,
yeah.
pretty big towels, but like not the normal small USDG or
Yeah.
not US disc golf hand towels.
So like, is there do we need to shout this brand out? Does everyone in the disc golf world need to know what towel this is?
It's like a beach
Do you have
towel.
a paid sponsorship with them that we can just shout them out?
I don't.
No.
However, I don't even know. It's not even a name brand. Go to
Yeah,
Walmart, go to the towels. That's it.
I swear, the best towels that I've ever used are like the old towels that we use,
Oh yeah,
for
the
like
old ones.
showering and
Yeah.
stuff like that when they've gotten like paint on them
Yeah.
and stuff like that. They're just all ready
Yep.
towels, but they're incredible for drying off discs. So kudos to you. 2 towels. It's so funny. I've been to so many tournaments in the rain at this point to where you have some players who carry 1 towel or they're wearing shorts. You have those kind of players, but then you have some who are just 25 towels. Every single one of them's in a separate Ziploc bag, and they're
Yeah.
trying to stay as dry
That's
as they
me.
can. Yeah.
That's me. So Chris, tell us, because when I interviewed you at MVP, literally while you were warming up for OTB Skins, I asked you questions for our show. We did a 2 Truths and a Lie segment, which you were a part of, and we did Judge That Disc Golfer. But the 2 Truths and a Lie, we asked you a question, and you said one of the truths was that you received scholarships in college, I think, for 2 different sports, and that was the truth. Can you tell us what 2 sports were those, and how did you end up choosing disc golf?
Yeah. So first, I tried to get a scholarship closer to home and see how far soccer would take me, but it was a smaller school. I think it might have been an NAIA school, but they offered $10,000 per year to go to their school, and tuition was, I want to say it was at least 30,000. So my immediately thought was 20,000 a year to go. That's okay. I'll go somewhere else. The other option I had was actually football. I was a kicker in high school, and I'd gotten quite a few offers from a bunch of different schools because of a scout that helped me get my name out there, send my I don't even know what you call them. They're just like highlight videos to different colleges and stuff like that. But I went there for about a month or so and decided I couldn't really decide on a major and something that I wanted to do after I got done with college. So I ended up dropping out, going back home, and going to a technical school for automotive. And that's kind of when disc golf picked up. I started playing before I started all this college stuff, but I wasn't serious about it.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, kind of, when did your disc golf career start? Or I should say, when did you start playing disc golf? And then when did your disc golf career start?
The very first time I played disc golf, I think, was 2011. But I graduated in 2012 and went on that small journey, and then came back to disc golf in, I think, maybe 2013 or 14.
Nice.
Okay, so people have said about you, and I don't know what you hear and what you don't hear, but people have said that like you don't travel very much for disc golf, but it seems to me as if like the last year or 2, like I don't know that statement is fair anymore. I feel like I do see you travel a lot. Why did people used to say that, do you think? And do you think it's still true, if it is true?
The reason people would say that is because I didn't go to the West Coast, and I still see those comments about not traveling a lot for the same reason. I don't go to the West Coast. I just don't think disc golf has enough money in it to really make it worthwhile.
Yet. So yeah, go on.
Right, yet. But no, I specifically remember this year playing the Great Lakes Open and getting second. I think it was Idlewild after that, getting third, and then Ledgestone getting third. Or I could have switched those and been second, third, whatever it was. I finished in the top 5 at all 3 of those I think it was within a month. And there were still comments of, I wish he would play these bigger tournaments. And I kept saying, I don't get it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, especially towards kind of like the middle to the end of the season. But I think at this point, there are so many disc golf fans out there, and obviously fans of yours, to where people are so like ready for the next Jomez episode to come out at that said tournament, like say Santa Cruz Master Cup or, Beaver State Fling. And when they don't see their favorite pro out there, it's kind of like, oh man, why isn't he traveling? Why isn't he at this event? Why isn't he at that one? And Chris is like, well, I'm just shooting 17 down at the local A tier, get my money's worth. So, but you did.
Yeah, see, that's kind of my thinking behind it is I could travel to the West Coast and, play against, the top players, and I would have to get top 5 to make somewhat close to what I would if I were to play a somewhat big B tier or an A tier. Not close to home, but just in the general 5 hours or so.
Yep. Is that kind of, where do you limit yourself? I shouldn't say that because you tour most of the country, most of the East Coast at this point. But if you're playing, say, a local tournament that you're missing a big one, what's kind of your limit? Like, yeah, I'll just go ahead and drive to that tournament or whatever. Do you ever fly to tournaments?
I don't fly to tournaments. I've never flown before. So honestly, I feel like that's a fear of mine is heights. So
you've never flown in general?
No,
Matt,
never.
That's another Nick and Matt show exclusive we just got out of Chris Dickerson. Is he has never flown, and I think that's wild.
Never.
Dang, but yeah,
I can remember,
so cool.
and
so you just drive everywhere. That's insane.
Yeah, and do you drive in a van and like sleep there, or do you get Airbnbs, or how does that work? What kind of disc golfer are you?
So here lately, I've been traveling with my wife in our truck and camper. So we'll go stay at campgrounds and stuff like that.
Okay, so let's get into a little bit more of the. So we talked USDGC a little bit. Can you just real quick in wrapping that up, because I don't think we asked this question. I saw it live. What can you explain the feeling, literally walking up to that last putt? Because I'm trying to put myself in that scenario. That feeling, like literally, what was it? And if there was a feeling, and then when you actually hit the putt, what that feeling was. So that both of those.
Oh, there absolutely was a feeling, and it started well before the putt. It actually, I would say, it really started to set in on hole 17 after I threw my drive and landed on the island. It kind of set in that, this is a very good possibility. All you've got to do is keep it in bounds on 18. Mm-hmm. And my strategy on 18, after I saw I had a 2-stroke lead so I could bogey the hole, was just to throw a putter 4 times and then tap it in.
What putter did you throw?
Do what?
What putter did you throw?
It was a 300 PA1.
Nice. And just kept throwing that over and over?
Yeah, the base plastic where it's grippy. I didn't want to take any chances with, there being any water whatsoever on it. So I don't think any of those shots were over 250 feet. And you know how easy it is to throw a putter around 150 to 200 feet in the wide open. Well, I say that, but there's OB, but you don't really have to shape a shot. It was the most stressful 4 throws that I've ever thrown under 200 feet.
Was your heart pounding? Because I'm thinking how that happens to me at tournaments, and I'm not playing for a U.S. title. Like, was your heart pounding, or was it just like, what was going on? You said stressful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just thinking back to it kind of gets my heart rate up a little bit. I'll say it's a very stressful moment, but at the same time, whenever you get through those moments, you get to look back on them and, see the other side of it, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is that like obviously you won the tournament. Obviously you say, yeah, I would totally win that tournament again. But was that feeling like, was it sickening to you, or was it kind of like, how did you overcome that feeling in a sense? Because we had Haley on the show recently, and she's like, nah, I didn't really feel any jitters. I was just kind of like, yeah, I made that putt. What's up? But then other people are like, dude, I can't, like, my body shakes if I'm in that kind of position, especially to win a tournament.
Yeah. I think to everybody, they see it a little bit differently, or they feel it a little bit differently. I can't lie. I was definitely nervous.
Mhm.
Walking hole 18, I threw the first shot. I walked up the fairway to see, where the biggest part of the next part of the fairway I wanted to land on was. And walking back down that hill, I remember just a specific feeling. I was like, wow, my legs are really tired. And I've I've never felt that way during a disc golf tournament before.
Yeah.
So obviously, after a 4-round tournament on a course like that, where you're spending close to 4 hours, if not more, out there, you're going to be a little tired. But I had never felt it that way, and I'm sure that the nerves were definitely a huge part of that.
Oh yeah. How do you prepare for a tournament like that? Like, what is do you arrive into town 2 weeks early, practice a course every day, every other day? How do you prepare?
And how many plaid shirts do you lay out?
For that weekend, I had 2 plaid shirts.
Nice. Very nice.
However, the orange one, I want to hang up, never have to wear it again. But my wife hates that idea. She's like, "You're only going to wear it once." Sure, absolutely. But no, as far as preparation, if it were any other year, I would have Rock Hill's only 3 hours from me. I would have went down there maybe a couple of weeks early to practice the course for a day or two, and then come home, and then get down there on maybe Sunday beforehand. So I would have Sunday, the second half of Monday after qualifying, and Tuesday to practice. But this year, with Corona messing up a lot of tournaments, the Jonesboro Open had to be rescheduled to the weekend before. And I'm glad that they made that tournament instead of a 3-day Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They made it a Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Oh yeah, that's a
And
great idea. I didn't even
yeah,
realize that.
so I played in Jonesboro. We left on Saturday night, drove through the night, got home around 3 in the morning. I woke up at, I want to say 7, to get to Rock Hill Sunday morning around 10 or 11 o'clock.
Gotcha. And you're a Tennessee guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you play? So obviously you play a ton of local tournaments. Like, is everything, all the tournaments, B tiers, A tiers that you play, they usually within like a 3-hour stretch of you?
As far as B and C tiers, yeah,
Yeah.
they're within a very close proximity.
Nice.
I mean, I'm usually B and C tiers don't have that much money added, so going back to almost similar to the West Coast stuff, why travel further whenever there's less money?
Right.
No, it makes sense. Totally.
So let's talk about money, because the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship put up huge purse, the largest purse ever in the history of disc golf, largest ever. Like, I think it was what, 100 and almost 130,000, somewhere in there. $20,000 for first place is what they came out to, 10,000 for second, so on and so forth. You took second place. We can talk through a little bit about that round going into the pressures you had, but that has to be the biggest paycheck you've ever taken for second place. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely, it's not even close.
So, did it feel a little confusing when you're like, I just took 10 grand and I didn't win?
It did. I was very upset with how I finished on the green of 17, and then how I played hole 18. But I kept thinking to myself, that's $10,000. So it's hard to get upset with that.
True. And it is true. And then you think to yourself, but that was also a, $10,000 putt as well. Like I've never done a putt for that in my life. So on hole 17, and you do not have to talk about it, but my thought process is you are pretty, I don't want to say automatic, but it depends, inside circle. We've talked about that before, you and me. Inside the circle, outside the circle.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind telling, like, what do you think happened there? You talked about nerves in USDGC. Were you feeling those nerves to where you totally aired it? Is that what happened? Or was it literally surprise to you? Like, I don't know what happened.
It surprised me. I'll say that. I felt good about my putting the week before at USDGC, and I felt pretty good going into the Pro Tour. But I noticed on Saturday and Sunday that I played that there was something a little off with my putt, and I think it was on Saturday where I'd putted a couple into the band, so it was like I was lifting them a little bit higher. So it felt more of like a push putt than it was a spin putt, and that's kind of what happened on hole 17. Was for whatever reason, my body wanted to do one thing and my mind was thinking another. So whenever it came out of my hand, it felt like an awful putt, and I immediately knew I'd kind of came up on the putt instead of more out. And I went back after the tournament was over and made at least 2 putts from there pretty easily.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I didn't feel like I lost it on 17. I definitely lost it on 18.
Yep.
Right. So walk us through that, because I feel, and this is my perspective again, I feel like, and thank you for sharing that about 17. It was just interesting for us fans to hear that. What was it on hole 18? Because again, I'm watching live and I'm a fan of the sport. I'm a fan of you. And I'm thinking to myself, as I walk up to hole 18, what I would do, and I'm sure you had, again, with that situation that just happened on 17, you had in your head, what did you have in your head? What was your goal there going into 18?
Going into 18, obviously looking for a birdie, just because, if Kevin were to birdie, that ties us and we go to a playoff. If he doesn't, then I win by 1. So going into that, I threw the same disc that I threw on that hole last year that I'd birdied it 4 rounds in a row. And this disc wasn't in my bag the entire year, so it didn't get broken in enough to where it would start to fly understable. But obviously, it wasn't a great throw by me. I'm not going to completely blame it on the disc, but I don't think it should have turned over as much as it should. So the only thing I can blame it on was I think the disc was just the right amount of broken in to where it started to turn when I was still thinking, this disc is going to want to stay straight.
Gotcha. And after your first throw, you end up in the woods on the right. And from what it looked like on the camera view, it was absolute jail. Was there any sort of kind of like, were you pretty much just poking hoping at that point? Or was there a potential line that you were looking at that you might be able to get through?
So the line I ended up going for was the closest thing I had to an opening, and it had a few smaller vines and limbs in it. I was going for a thumber kind of high to get it to pan toward the basket just a little bit, basically to get out, try and get inside the circle and have a putt. Even if it was an outside the circle putt, that's fine. But I think that was the highest percentage I had looking at everything from where I was at.
Man, you still gave it. In your head, you obviously went for it on 18. It didn't play out how you wanted. You walk away with $10,000. Did you feel like there was an added pressure going into the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship, having won it and possibly having a three-peat? Super incredibly close. Was that in your head at all during the round, or was it not?
Maybe just a little bit before the rounds.
Yeah.
before the round on Saturday, before the round on Sunday. But once the round started going, the only thing I was really worried about was playing as good as I could.
Mhm.
So the USDGC wraps up, and I jumped back to USDGC because in between there and the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship, you had made a post, and this is obviously, I wouldn't ask you this if you didn't make it publicly, but I don't want to put you on the spot either, about anxiety. And I can tell you, if I'm going to try to relate with you, I definitely deal with that to where I actually have gone, and it sounds interesting every time I say it, to get professional help, and I have, and I still deal with it, and it's something that I related to you, and I think if I saw what I saw, thousands of people related to you. You have an opportunity to connect with people on a different level than just the average person. Um, but you are in a lot of ways dealing with what the average person deals with, obviously. So, like, do you mind telling us a little bit? Because you talked about like not feeling worthy to win. Is that just something that you regularly always, or did it come up during COVID, or what? Do you mind sharing it all about that?
Yeah, sure. So as far as the anxiety, it had not really came up in my life until um, I went to college for football, and that was really the first time that it had uh, ever came up. And I think that's why I ended up coming home. I remember sitting in class, and out of nowhere, just this feeling hit me that told me, uh, "You need to go home." So I remember going to the bathroom and trying to calm myself down, and I stayed in there for like 10 or 15 minutes, and I couldn't do it. So I eventually went back to the classroom, got my stuff, told the teacher I needed to leave, and spent basically the rest of the day in the coach's office. They were trying to say like, "Hey, you're going to get through this. You don't need to leave." Um, I remember one thing they told me was, the majority of people that leave and go home don't come back.
Mhm.
And I remember saying, I don't think that's going to happen. And obviously it did. The second that I got home, I immediately started feeling better. And um, I remember getting a physical done, and being put on medication for a very short period of time. But um, yeah, after that, I had not experienced any anxiety up until this year.
Mm.
Well, yeah, we appreciate you opening up about that on Facebook, and then also with Matt opening up about that. And I just kind of want to speak to the audience quick, is that professional disc golfers are humans too.
Mm.
And they all, I know they get to do something that we are all very jealous of and that we all want to do the same thing. But there are the hardships and the challenges in life that do come about even for professional disc golfers. So I think it's safe to say, Matt and I especially, if any of you guys and girls are ever dealing with anything, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to help out in any sort of way that we can. But yeah.
Okay, so I've got two wrap-up questions before we get into judge that disc golfer. I know you got somewhere where to be soon here, so let me ask two of these and see if what we can get as an answer. One is, where did the nicknames come from that we kind of know about? Like, I think there's Robot Chicken. I think I've seen Chris Dickin Fingers. I've seen a few different ones.
Tenders,
What was that?
tenders,
Oh,
not yeah. Basically all the nicknames are a Big Germ special.
Nice.
You can thank him for every single one of those except for the limestone laser.
oh.
How'd that come
And
about?
I know that Nate Sexton has said my wife was the originator of that one, but it was him. He takes full credit for that. Um, yeah. Besides that, I don't know where any of the other ones came from. Besides Nate with the one, and Germ gets the rest.
Gotcha.
Big Germ came on our show and was talking about how he got his names. Big Perm, Big Worm, Big Squirm. Like, so he's into that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. That's cool. So there was that one, and then I also was thinking about your wife posted this, and again, it's just the social media, the nature of social media. I think it's really cool that you have a wife who's so supporting. I know it helps me a lot in my life. That's the biggest benefit to being married. They can help you. You can try to love them the best you can, but they help you a lot. So
must be nice.
It is nice, Nick. One day.
One day.
So my question to that is, she had posted something, and I think this is the quote directly, is, "You are a rule-following goody two-shoes." So now, that's nice that she thinks that about you, but why do you think she thinks that about you? It's kind of deep.
I don't know any other reason besides, it's true for the most part. I'll give an example, and I'll kind of throw her under the bus at the same time. We went to a PDQ. I don't remember. I think it might have been Florida. But we go in, we order our food, and as soon as we sat down, this waitress brings her food out, sets it on the table, and we just started eating. And another waitress brings out the exact same order and said, like, "Hey, here's your food." And obviously, I was like, we've already got our food. And she goes, "Well, I can't really take it back. So here, you can have the rest of it. Is there anything else that, we missed or anything like that?" And the whole time in line, Brittany was like, "I really want this strawberry shake." Ended up not getting it. And whenever she was like, "Is there anything else that we can get you?" She goes, "Oh yeah, a chocolate shake." Or sorry, strawberry shake.
Yeah.
And as soon as the waitress walked away, I gave her this look. Like, really? You're going to do that? And I mean, it's just little stuff like that. I try my best to, whether it's within the rules of disc golf, within the rules of life, just try and, stay between the lines, stay on the straight and narrow, stuff like that.
Nice. Is she in the same
Yeah.
room giving you crap right now for telling that story?
She is. Right. Yeah. The whole time I'm trying to tell the story, I hear, "Don't stop."
Wait, so did she end up getting the strawberry shake though?
Absolutely.
We're all disappointed.
Right? That's all you can be.
Yep.
No.
Disappointment has just set in on the Nick and Matt show.
That's so funny. Well, I think it's awesome you've shared everything that you shared with us tonight. To respect your time, we're going to jump in to judge that disc golfer so we can get this show on the road, if you will. Is there anything that I missed that would be really interesting to talk about, Nick, before we do that? You're having a house built?
Yeah.
Where are you building it in your local area?
Yeah. We are, we've got the frame and everything up. We've got not the metal roof on it, but we do have a roof on the house. So we're just waiting for the metal roof, the gutters, the siding, and then of course all the stuff that takes place on the inside after they get all that on.
Now you're obviously real quick. You're a handy person. You do automotive stuff. Are you doing any of the housework? Do you do construction as well?
As of now, no. But my initial plan was to we were considering building the house during COVID, and we didn't know how long the layoff was going to last. We're lucky that it was only like a month or a little bit more. But my initial plan was to work with the people there if they would allow me to, speed the process up a little bit, and then I could say, I helped build this house.
Yeah, well, that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that breaks all kinds of OSHA regulations and
a couple
anything else like that. But
so we've got people kind of screaming at us. They want to know a few things, and I'm just going to get to one of them. You jump putt or step putt as my son. I asked my son today, my 6-year-old, what should I ask Chris? He said, talk about like his step putt. I said, jump putt. He goes, no, it's a step putt. 6 years old, correcting me. You do that a lot. What is it about that it comes easier to you to do that? Because you've alluded to that. And the second thing is, do you feel like you are so close to borderline foot faulting every time, or do you think you aren't, or like what does that look like for you in your mindset?
So the reason I do the step putt in the first place is you are able to build up more momentum to, you know, put it through the disc, make the disc go a little bit further while being on like a putting form. Um, you know, a lot of people don't like the step putt, and a lot of people don't like jump putting, stuff like that. And I have come up with here lately, and this isn't just for me; it's for like all kinds of step putting, jump putting. The further away someone is, I feel like the more likely that it's an illegal putt.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense actually.
Yeah, just because you're getting more of your lower body into it, so more than likely it's either too close to call, or and I mean, that puts people in a bad situation. So I'm actually doing something this off season. I've already started it, and that's whenever I release the putt, my back foot stays on the ground. So, of course I've seen people's comments about, it's too close or it shouldn't be legal or stuff like that. So I'm going to completely eliminate any kind of controversy whatsoever. So as long as I leave my back foot on the ground whenever I putt, I know for a fact 100% of the time that my front foot isn't down. So
wow,
that blows that conversation out of the water.
Very cool.
Incredible that you would,
very cool.
That even though you're not saying that you feel like you are gaining an unfair advantage, you're trying to say, I can do it this way as well. That's, I think, whatever you decide, I think that's awesome. Thank you for that answer. That was incredible. And I totally appreciate you coming on the show and talking about these things that sometimes can be hard to answer. And we put you on the spot. It's kind of the nature of who and what we do. But sometime when you're back up in the area and there's no COVID, we'll take you out or something and hang out without the hard questions. Okay, let's go.
Let's judge a disc golfer.
We're gonna judge a disc golfer. So here it comes. Judge that disc golfer.
Judge That Disc Golfer, the game show where you judge a disc golfer you've never met.
All right. My name's Matt. You're on the Nick and Matt show. What's your name?
I'm Carrie.
All right, Carrie. We just met, but you're out here at Maple Hill enjoying a round of disc golf. We want to get to know you a little bit so you can tell us, how long have you been playing disc golf?
About 8 months now.
8 months. Now, do you usually come to Maple Hill?
No, this is maybe my 5th time here, 6th time.
Okay, and are you local to Maple Hill then?
I live out in Western Mass.
Okay, Western Mass. Do you have a PDGA number?
No, but I plan on trying to get one next year. I was just talking to my boyfriend about that.
Okay, and have you ever done any competitions before?
No, not yet.
Okay, so no competitions.
No.
You've been playing about 8 months and you don't have a PDGA number. Let's figure this out. It might help us to be able to judge you a little bit better. You just played what layout today?
The Reds.
The Reds. And do you know what your score was?
Yeah, +2.
Okay, +2 on the red layout. I think that's pretty good.
Yep.
All right, so let's get right into it. Carrie, how far can you throw a disc?
Ooh, the farthest I've recorded is like...
Okay, so Chris, you were a contestant on this game, so you know it's the same type of questions. We're gonna let Nick go first, and Nick has to guess how far she answers. And by the way, to everyone that wants to continue to play, I will pull the polling up. Oops, hold on a second here. I got to change it, but go ahead, Nick.
I'm gonna say 240 feet.
240 feet. We've got people guessing right now, playing live in the poll, and they're coming in at 250 to 275. Chris, what do you think she's going to answer?
I'm going to go with E, 275 to 300 feet.
Decent.
275 to 300. The live polling continues to bounce around, but it looks like right now 250 to 75 is what the fans are guessing. Someone guessed over 400. That's incredible. All right, let's see what she answers here and see who gets the point. Oh, okay, hold on. I'm doing too many things at once, Nick, as always. Here we go.
310 max.
310
Good
feet.
for her.
I like it.
Okay, so
Matt, that might be further than you. I'm just kidding.
310 feet, dude. That is pretty far.
That's a crush.
So 310 feet is what she answered with. So who gets that point, Nick?
Chris gets that point.
Okay, so
He had the over on me.
all right, so we are going to go ahead and jump into question number 2. Here we go.
How many aces do you have?
All right, we asked her how many aces do you have, and people are playing along right now. And for some reason, my polling screen is a little weird, but they're coming in. So you're up this time, Chris. How many aces does she have? How many is she going to answer?
Ooh. Okay. Playing 8 months. I'm gonna say she has 1 ace.
I'm gonna go 2.
All right, Nick says 2.
It's either 0 or 2. I'm telling you, but I'm gonna go 2.
All right. The audience is polling right now with the largest percentage 0, 36% being 1. So, all right, let's see how this plays out for Carrie.
0. None. Hopefully 1 one day.
Okay, so that point goes to Chris.
I was hoping she would get like a pitch and putt course ace, and that's what I was going for.
All right, Nick. So what's this?
I was kind of thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 1
But
is a good guess.
So 1, but it's very safe to go with 2 because anything 2 and above, I get
Yeah.
the point. So
Yeah.
Yep.
kind of had to
True.
go with that. But like I said, I knew it was going to be 0 or 2. So
all right, Nick.
Chris,
So what's
Chris is up 2 to 0.
2 to 0? All right, let's go ahead and get into
Just
question.
good old another week of Nick losing.
Yeah. Okay. good. Nick losing. Oh man, my screen. Okay, here we go. Question number 3.
I see that you have some cool tattoo art. If you were to get do you have a disc golf tattoo?
No.
Okay, 8 months, that'd be pretty serious if you did.
Yeah. I'm already thinking about one.
Okay, she's thinking about one. Maybe we can pick your brain on that. But if you were to get a disc golf tattoo, here's 4 options. You can either get a single individual basket. You could get a basket with a putter hitting the front rim. We like to call that a doink putt. Maybe you know what those are.
Doink.
I think we all do. You could get Tasmanian Devil throwing a 360 drive, okay? Or you could get a cool disc golf phrase, something like grip it and rip it, or like death putt. Okay, what would you choose?
All right, Nick. Am I correct? You get to guess
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, it is me.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with doink putt.
Doink putt.
That's
So
B.
all right, so doink putt is what Nick chooses here. You can see, Chris, how the live polling is going here. Which tattoo do you think she's going to answer she would get? She said she's actually thinking about one.
I think it is A, the single basket.
Okay, so
I think there's been a couple of those. The single basket.
right
ones.
now, the live polling is showing 42% for the Tasmanian Devil, 25% for the single basket, and 17% for both doink and disc golf phrase. Let's see how this plays out for us.
If it were to be one with a quote, it'd be a basket and saying, "Wait for the tree spect." Instead of treejection, you get tree spect.
Okay,
Okay.
so it was kind of a mixture,
Yeah.
but it's the disc golf quote, the phrase. So, Nick, what's the score?
I think Chris is still up 2 to 0. Did he get that? Did you say phrase on that one?
No, I was shaking my head for the single basket.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was, but that's kind of like what it was though. She's like, it would be a phrase with a single basket, so it's kind of like
so we'll give
half
him
a point.
2.5 to 0.
Half a point.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get into question 4.
Wrap this up, pro scene at all.
I've been watching a lot of the Pro Tour.
Okay, like Jomez and that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jomez Pro.
All right, shout out to them.
Yeah.
Definitely check out that episode. We had them on, really cool insights. Let me ask, if you had to pick a favorite professional disc golfer, whether it's a female or a male, who would it be?
Okay, we asked her who would it be, and we got to change the poll here for everybody. So who's she gonna answer? This is kind of I did put answers up here. This is the first time I've ever done that. So to our listening audience, I did put up some options for them to choose from. So obviously the correct answer's in here, so it kind of narrows it down a little bit. So who's answering first here, Nick?
Chris is.
All right, Chris, out of all the disc golfers we listed, who is she going to say is her favorite?
Oh, I'm going to go with the first that I saw pop up on the screen. Katrina Allen, G.
Okay. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of upset at Matt that he didn't put your name on there. You know, that was kind of rude of him. Could have at least been nice.
He's harassing me.
But what a guy. Anyways, I'm gonna go with Paige. Sorry,
Nick,
I'm gonna go with Paige Pierce.
Nick totally puts me on the spot. If I'm feeling bad now. All right, should have thought that one through a little better.
Maybe here we are having the USDGC champ on there. You don't even put his name with their favorite pros.
Okay, Nick, I'm feeling awkward enough now.
Guy.
Okay, here.
Paige Pierce, that's my guess.
Okay, okay, we're all laughing now. So here's the polling results came in with 31% being the highest to Paige Pierce. The second highest was 23% going to Haley King, and then some others down the lower percentages. Let's go ahead and see how Carrie answered for this question.
Who was that lady that just recently won? Haley King. Like, she was amazing, and she, like, kept her calm. Like, you could even see that she was nervous, but she tried her best, and she did amazing.
All right, Haley King. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Nick, what's the score?
Technically 2.5 to 0.
2.5 to 0. So,
bit of an off week, I guess, for me.
Okay, so we're coming into the last question here, and there's no chance for Nick to win.
Well, this one's worth 5 points.
Okay, worth 5 points. Here we go.
I'm just kidding.
If and when you do play your first competitive round, and it has to be unfavorable weather conditions, we're talking either heavy rain, really windy, like 20 miles an hour to 30 mile an hour gusts, or snowing with maybe 6 inches of snow already on the ground, what would you choose for your weather condition?
Okay, Nick, who guesses first here?
This is number 5. I do.
All right.
So, sorry, I was distracted by the guy in the background who threw a disc while his buddy was putting. It was kind of funny. It was like a little movie in the background.
I know.
She chooses to play in the wind. I'm going to go with wind.
So, yeah, I mean, technically, we could let Chris pick wind if he wants to, but that wouldn't be fun. Nick can't win anyways. Guess what you think the answer is, Chris. Which one do you think the answer is?
Okay, I'm going for the 3.5 points total. I'm going to go with snow because she's from Massachusetts.
Everyone thinks that. I swear to God.
Okay, snow. Here we go. The live polling is saying 42% is wind and 25% is the lowest in the snow.
Come on, help me out, chat.
Let's see how it plays out here. Let's hear from Carrie.
I don't know. I really like the snow, and I like to just have fun playing disc. So I'd probably frolic around in the snow, trying to get some baskets in.
Awesome, Carrie. Thank you so much for being on the show. We totally appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
It's still crazy to me that people will play in the snow. Like, I do competitively for Team Challenge, but it sucks.
You ever play in the snow, Chris?
Absolutely. In the winter, we go to Virginia for these unsanctioned tournaments, and every now and then, in December, January, it's gonna be a pretty good snow in that area. So
yeah.
All you have to do is prepare.
Is that the Virginia Team Invitationals?
Not the team invitationals. That's in March.
Oh, okay.
These are called brawls.
Oh, the brawls.
Which,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Which I'd been going to for 3, 4, 5 years, and I had no idea that it stood for. I think it's like Bedford Roanoke Area Winter Leagues.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I played in a couple of those when I was living down
Right.
in Virginia.
Yeah. I asked Zach because he's the one who introduced me to
Mhm.
those if he knew what it meant. And of course, he wasn't going to be like, no, I have no idea.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, yeah, I knew that the whole time. You didn't know that?
Jeez.
It's like, oh, thanks for filling me in.
Yeah, this whole time. Well, anyways, we're at that 8 o'clock
Yeah.
mark, and we know you are kind of on a little time crunch. So we wanted to give you kind of a quick, 30, 45 seconds of a shameless plug. Shout out all your sponsors. Where can the people find you and all that fun jazz?
How can they support you?
Exactly.
Let's see. As far as supporting me, you can go to Prodigy Disc, buy my signature series PA3s and FX2s. I think they're sold out right now, but they should be back on very soon.
Okay.
Sweet deal.
I think we've asked you a lot. You've answered a lot. We had some fun. I hope you enjoyed it. We're definitely going to ask at some point when you have big wins and all that. We won't have to come back to these, get to know you questions. We can just get right into all the fun disc golf talk. So we'd love to have you back on the show again sometime. Thank you so much for your time, Chris. And with that, I guess we'll send you out unless you have anything else you want to say.
Nope, that's all right. Thank you all for having me.
Cool. Thank you, Chris. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
See ya.
Peace.
Okay, so that was Chris Dickerson, everybody, and that was totally cool. Like, I've talked to him one time, and it was at the MVP Open, and he was like putting, and I know the feeling of like a pro standing there putting, practicing. He was practicing for the OTB skins.
Okay, yep.
Warming up, I should say, and I was like just waiting there, sitting in the bleachers, like by myself, like in the morning time, and I'm like, I'm gonna interrupt his putting to ask him to be on the show. Like that, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
And I totally was that guy, and he just was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I want to do that. Like, I want to be in the game. And I'm like, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you. He's like, no, man. Like, I'm totally down for this. And I'm like, okay, this guy is pretty genuine.
I've heard only the nicest things about Chris, and I think kind of like a cool moment that I would say I'll share is we were at GMC this past year, a couple months ago, and on Hole 18, Chris had thrown OB a couple times, and there was 2 discs that we were looking for, a green one and a blue one. And he was finishing up the fairway. I was walking with Paul, and Paul had asked me, he's like, hey, while we're finishing the hole, can you help out Chris go look for his disc? And I was like, yeah, of course. So I go into the woods, I start looking, and we find the green one like instantly. But then the blue one, I think it probably took just about an hour to find one disc. And there was 20, 25 people at one point all searching around for it. And I ended up finding it. And I was like, everybody stop. I found the Holy Grail. And here it is. And he was super appreciative. He was about to give up too. He was like, whatever, it's gone. I was like, nah, dude, you probably need that disc. So like, let's find it. But
so
that's my claim to fame with Chris at the moment. I think we've had a couple casual conversations, but for the most part, we just kind of see each other and say hello.
Do you know that remember, I think it was last week, why am I having a brain freeze? Our guest was Yuli.
Yep.
Do you remember he said, is that Nate Perkins in the background?
Yeah.
That was her. That was Carrie.
Oh, you were saying that. I remember you saying that.
So
last
they
week,
messaged us. Because they watched last week's show.
Yep.
So Carrie, the guest or the participant on Judge That Disc Golfer.
Yep.
And her boyfriend messaged us after the show last week. And we're like, that is so cool that Yuli thought she was Nate Perkins. Like, we're geeking out over that right now. Like, it's so fun.
That's pretty sweet.
So that's totally cool. I think, Chris, honestly, if you did not feel the genuineness from that dude tonight, and can I say this? In some ways, I feel like, I don't want to say it's unfortunate, but in some ways, I feel like it's unfortunate that he feels like he needs to change his putt. I hope it's not the pressure of like, oh man, like people are going to keep calling me out. I feel like part of me wants to say, if you know you're not foot faulting, then like, don't worry about it. The other part of me goes, he's rising above any opportunity for criticism. And he's going to say, I'm going to make sure. Like, nobody can say that. Like, even if I think I'm not doing it, I'm not going to make it an opportunity.
I think at that point, I kind of just hope that it obviously doesn't mess up because he's such a deadly
I
putter.
know.
And especially from that like 35, 40 feet range, he's such a deadly putter. And so hopefully, kudos to him for doing this big change. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't screw anything up with them.
Well, won't it be impressive? We'll be able to look back to this show and be like, he talked about changing his putt like in the off season to what he was such, like you said, so fire.
Yep.
And to see him win something or a back-to-back, that'd be amazing. So, okay, I'm just going to bring it up because live chat wants to say, and we're actually going to start getting into jump putting. That's actually our next topic, which is it time for jump putting, quote unquote, to go away? And I just want this one thought here. Someone says when you slow it down, it's easy. It's clear that he was foot faulting. And that is part of the conversation here, Nick.
Yeah.
How
100%.
often are you out on the card when somebody's jump putting and you slow it down in your brain?
Well, that's the thing, is that you're trying to watch their hand when they release the disc, and you're also trying to watch whatever foot is coming off the ground at a specific time. And so I think obviously if you slow it down, there are a large majority of people who are potentially foot faulting. I do think that there are people who have found out how to do a putt and actually make it like it's a legal step putt or a legal jump putt. But obviously, I can't take my phone, take a video of this guy, watch him putt, slow it down, and then say, "Oh, by the way, you foot faulted on that." Like you can't do that. And so I think honestly, if it's too close to call, at that point, benefit goes to the player. Unless it's so beyond blatant, you can't really call it. So I don't think necessarily that we should get rid of jump putting, but if you 100% think that it's a foot fault, I mean, tell the guy, say, "Hey, watch your feet," and then at that point, if you think he keeps foot faulting, then
can we
call him on a foot fault?
Yeah, can we define what a foot fault is? So a foot fault, there's falling putts, which is all of these are kind of in the same conversation. So a foot fault would be when your planted foot behind the mini marker, however that happens, whether you're stepping up or whatever, when your planted foot behind the mini marker leaves the ground before your putt has left your hand. Okay. So you can have the putt out of your hand and your foot then can leave the ground, assuming you're outside of the 10-meter circle we're talking here, the circle one.
Yeah.
So a step putt, which is often what you see Chris doing, is this delayed kind of deal where his planted foot is there and his other alternate foot, I'm assuming it's his left foot, is swinging forwards. Okay. So as if you were to take a step. And it's actually out in front of the mini, which is totally acceptable as long as it's not planted on the ground. And then it's the push with your planted foot to get that momentum he's talking about. And it's where you got to let go of the disc before your foot comes off the ground. I think you can, someone says every time it's a foot fault, every time you jump putt. No, it's not. You can slow it down and see thousands of disc golfers who can jump putt without that being
and do
the
it
case.
clean.
But you can also watch those same 1,000 disc golf putters and find them another time foot faulting. So I will give that conversation the benefit of the doubt to say, yes, it happens often. But the rule in the sport here is, one, if you think somebody is trying to deviate from the rules, like trying to, then that would be a violation of the rules. If they are violating the rules, then it comes down to the game, the card having to call the rule violation. And so this was interesting. I saw in another forum, Nick, while we're on this conversation, someone brought up, if you know that nobody's going to really call you on something, is it okay to like stretch the rule there? If it's a rule, is it okay? You're like, no one's going to call me on a foot fault. Like, let's just say even on a run up.
Yeah, we'll see. If that's
So,
kind
like,
of your
let's just go-
mentality at it, then you're cheating just right then and there. But yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so let's take this to, and I don't know if I'm going to rile people up. Let's take this to the basketball. You play basketball. Isn't it part of the game? And I'm gonna do it in this wording. Part of the game is actually on purpose breaking the rules so you stop the clock. Come on.
Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like if I purposely...
You foul on purpose in the last minute or whatever of the game. On purpose.
That's not really breaking the rules. It's because fouling's
If
not...
a fouling is not a penalty for breaking the rules?
But it's like... It's not really a penalty for breaking the rules. It's a penalty because that's just how the sport is designed. I don't really think that it's technically breaking the rules.
If you foul that foul enough times, you get kicked out of the game, right?
Yeah.
So it's
So you can't
definitely
foul.
breaking the
You can't
rules.
foul 6 times. I think if you foul a 7th time, then yeah, you broke the rules. You broke a rule that you
So
cannot foul.
why do they stop the clock then when you foul?
I don't
Because
know.
you broke the rules, and the other team gets an
But
opportunity.
they're out of bounds stops the clock, and
Yes, but I'm saying, why do they get to shoot extra points when you're technically you are breaking the rules? The rules would say you can't hit somebody's arm, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess my point is this: in basketball, this is my point. I'm interested, in your feedback here, and I'm playing hardball. In basketball, it's intentional. I'm going to try to break the rules for my advantage, and it's accepted in basketball.
Mhm.
I don't know other sports. I'm not thinking clearly right now to say every other sport that might happen in, but in disc golf, it's definitely frowned upon. It's a different sport altogether.
Yeah, I guess I'll let's say I retract what I just said. I guess at that point, in basketball, you're breaking a rule to gain an advantage that will 100% happen. You have gained an advantage by stopping the clock. In disc golf, if you break the rules to gain an advantage, you're technically, if someone calls you on it, you're screwing yourself because now you just lost a stroke. So there's not enough reward. As in basketball, yeah, there are plenty of reasons why, stopping the clock was very crucial in that moment. But at the same time, in disc golf, if you break the rules and you get called on it, it penalizes you more so in disc golf than it would basketball. I think basketball, that's kind of a strategic thing. But can you go back up for a second on the chats just a little bit? I want to shout out Brodie, who's in the chat right now. And I think him and I and a bunch of people down in Virginia have always had conversations on the whole jump putting aspect. But I think a little bit further up, he had wrote, easy way is no jump putting. Keep going up, please.
Oh.
No jump putting inside. So jump put's legal outside of 100 feet. Boom, solved. I agree with that because there are times where I feel like a jump putt is my safer bid to the basket than a forehand or a backhand. I'll just do a jump putt. But like you were saying earlier, the further you get out, the easier it is to potentially foot fault because now you're adding so much more energy and so many more body parts and explosiveness that, I feel like I'd get called more on a footfall from 100 feet and out than I would 40 feet and in. You know what I mean?
Interesting point.
So,
and I know Chris said that about it's going to be easier to foot fault.
Yeah.
So is the answer, and I know, so what Brodie just said,
but at the same
I
time,
don't think that doesn't actually fix the problem because now people are going to be trying from further away.
But at the same time, you can't really stop. You ever seen how Paige Shue sometimes jump putts to where she'll actually, and sometimes Paige Pierce does it too, to where they'll actually walk up to the disc, plant, and then jump into it. Like they'll take a couple steps. It's kind of like the same thing if you're taking an X step from 300 feet away in a wide open fairway. You're taking an X step, your feet are moving, and then you plant your feet, and then sometimes your feet lifts off the ground depending on which way you're twirling at that point. But I think if we were to say, everything has to be a standstill, that's the only way that you solve this issue. And I know Brodie and I have talked about that before, is to where everyone standstills except for when you're throwing your first drive on a hole. You have the option on a tee box, a tee area, to move and to actually do an X step. But after that, everything's a standstill.
Can I say it's super hard? I wish Brodie, I know you're in the chats. I wish you were on the show right now. We'd have a good time talking back and forth because I'm trying to figure out and answer these questions. And it's obviously tough whether you're on social media or wherever.
It's tough too when you try to read the comments the whole time.
But here's the deal. He brings up what's an interesting point, but then I think it's like a slippery slope. He says, who cares? Like if, let's say we move it back to 66 feet or 100 feet or wherever, like, so you could jump putt.
Can we call Brodie in? Brodie, can you message me your Skype information?
I mean, we could. If he wants to come on, it'd be fun.
He said call me in.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. Yeah, so Brodie, real quick, if you can, go on Messenger and just send me your Skype info and I'll give it to Matt.
Yeah, and I can add him in. So here's what I'm thinking. If we want to continue that conversation.
I think with Brodie, we're going to have to. But.
Okay, but let me kind of, until he gets you that message or whatever to come on. I think it's an interesting point that he says, move it outside of circle 2, circle 1. Who cares at that point because it's not a big enough advantage, even if you do foot fault. Now, the rules would have to change, though, because the reality is it would be a foot fault. So it'd have to, the rules would have to change to where it's like, I don't know. I mean, the rules of throwing would have to change. So
yeah, it's weird. It's such a slippery slope, and of course, with disc golf, we hate change in so many different areas. So when we talk about the circle 1 to circle 2 and going from there, I do think that circle 1 should be extended to 66 feet. I agree with that. I do agree with Brodie's statement. Anything 100 feet and in, you should have to do a standstill on. But I don't know. There's things down the line that maybe they'll happen in the future. But
well, standstill for sure. Okay, so standstill, I thought would be the easy answer. That's why I titled some of this, or our
Yeah.
discussion points was is it time for the jump putt to go away? Because in my opinion, that would fix everything. And I would say this: move circle 1 back to circle 2
Mhm.
and no jump putts. So everything standstill. The problem with that is if you go standstill,
Yeah.
um,
let's see if you can call into that.
okay, let's see. I'm going to try to call in Brodie here. If you go to the standstill though, now how does that affect the rules for regular throws? How does that affect the rules for regular throws, Nick? Like, so now if you're saying standstills only, doesn't that affect a regular throw? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, well, I think like if disc golf was ever to get to that point to where you completely want to eliminate any issue of there being a foot fault, besides for on the tee area, you make everything a standstill.
Huh.
Imagine someone
So
being
wait,
450
so
feet
wait.
down a fairway in the woods and having to stand still because they hit the first available tree. Or
So no run-ups.
no run-ups. I'm saying no one
Now
except for the
it's
tee
a
area.
slippery
And
slope.
now we'll see. Now I'm saying, but now you have no way of foot faulting on a second shot.
All right.
How sick would that be?
So
that would be awful. I would be so bad at disc golf.
We are, and
But-
this is one of the interesting parts of doing a live show.
He said he's ready.
Okay, so I waved at him. I don't know if he's hearing me. If it's the right username that I just sent a wave to.
Yeah, he said he's getting headphones. 1 sec. Okay, ready.
Okay, so if he's seeing that I waved to him, he can either accept it or call us. And if he sees the wave, otherwise, I guess I can try calling right now.
Hold on. Maybe try this one. I almost just said it out loud, and everyone's going to try to Skype him. I'm like trying to block my screen right here, so no one.
It allowed me. Yeah, here I'll just punch in mine. So Nick, go on down this live slippery slope we were just talking about.
Are we talking about no more run-ups? Hold on. Let me read a couple of comments. Daniel Willis says yes, just kill the jump putts altogether. I can agree with you to a point. But Daniel, is there an area to where people can jump putt as like an approach? Can people do that? When it comes to taking change, it takes someone new to the game like Brodie. Brodie doesn't mind making waves, even if it's not the popular opinion. I 100% agree with that. And we have Mr. Brodie Smith.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Let me get him into.
Let me see if my mic is working. Is my mic on?
Yeah, you have.
We can hear you. I don't know if your mic's on, but we're hearing you. It's kind of echoey, so maybe it's not using the mic, but we can hear you.
All right, let me try to set this up. Hold on. I never get on this Skype thing.
No, I hear you. Why do we do Skype? Why don't we do like FaceTime? Is Skype just the easiest one?
You gotta do Discord. Well, you can't do video on Discord. Audio is really
okay, now we're getting into technical topics here, and then we'll go right back. Technical topic says that Skype actually is set up for creative control, kind of where it allows you to do what we're doing. Patch directly from the software into our broadcasting software. Yeah, there you go.
That's smooth.
That is
yeah.
Okay, so first of all, we've never done it this way. We'd like to give you an official welcome, and I know you're kind of used to doing these kind of shows just like maybe last minute sometimes, but we'd like to welcome onto our show Brodie Smith. Yes, the Discraft sponsored professional disc golfer to our show. And so without further ado, we saw you in the chats, and kind of give us your quick opinion. We saw the chats, but not everybody heard it because they're listening post in our podcast, driving around their cars, the airplanes, or whatever. What's your opinion here on jump putting?
Well, I think you need to just do something to basically make it so players don't have to. The more that players have to call on other players, I think that's a bad thing because no one really likes doing that to begin with. And so I think just eliminating it completely as far as space, how close to the basket you are, it really is only beneficial when you're just right outside the circle and you have people doing the step putt or whatever, and they're releasing the disc after their back foot is off. So just make it outside of circle 2. And then, like I said, if you want a Michael Jordan free throw line jump from behind your disc, and you think that's going to be effective from 70 feet, I mean, that'd be exciting to watch.
Mm-hmm. And that was when I was like, man, I wanted you to come on, and you did. I think I actually agree with that mentality because I feel like you're right.
Also, you got to make putting harder, not easier.
You're right. And so
yeah, I'll 100% agree with that.
So I'm agreeing with that, but here's I don't want to call it a slippery slope, and maybe it's easier in discussion than it would be being on the rules committee, because then at that point, if you say, let's move it back, which I'm for, let's move the circle back, make it harder for sure. The advantage you're talking about, I agree. You're far enough away. Who cares if you quote unquote foot fault? But the problem is, how does that affect your regular throwing rule? Because once you're outside of the circle, that technically is a regular throw is what it's considered. And so how does that affect at that point if we say we don't care about foot faults? How do you apply that rule to the rest of the throws? Do we not care about foot faults in general? Do we make it like what do you think?
Well, so I mean, what scenario? Give me a scenario that you could do something. I mean, I guess you could theoretically like jump behind your disc to get, and then in the air you're flying around a tree to throw. But like, again, I think that going back to what Nick was saying a little bit earlier before I came on, I was talking to some other pros about this idea of one of the reasons why Hornets Nest or any of these other courses are really exciting to watch is the separation in scores. You have a lot of holes that you can see a 3 or you could see a 7. And I think we all saw that at the Tour Championship. A lot of these courses, unfortunately, don't have that ability. You're either seeing birdie or par. And when you see a bogey, it is kind of an anomaly for the top 20, 30 players, right? Yeah. You go to any UDisc live scoring and you open up and you look at the top 20 guys, there's going to be very few brown numbers, right? Brown boxes. It's pretty much all white and all green. So if I'm putting my viewer cap on and I want to watch, live sports, to me, I want to be able to see stuff from the very best and then see people struggle as well in any sport. If you know a sport that's exciting to watch where there's only 2 outcomes every single time, like a par or a birdie, I'll say I'll stand corrected. But pretty much all sports are very like up in the air. You don't know what you're going to expect. So to go back to that, I was talking about right now the rules right now are set up in a way that are very advantageous for low scoring. And I'm not against low scoring if someone plays really well, but we've seen people shoot 13, 14, 15 under and no one really like bats an eye at it, which I think is kind of insane, because if someone on the PGA Tour shot 14, 15 under, everyone would be going insane, like would be freaking out. Yeah. So right now it's like, unless you're shooting 18 or 19 under, you just had a hot round. You didn't have a magical round, right? So what ways can they make it to where disc golf, I guess, you could par, you could bogey, you could double bogey, you could birdie. And I think one is stroke and distance, right? So you have different types of penalties. So you go, and I know some people are saying it's not golf, and it's disc golf.
Yeah.
It's literally golf with a disc.
Yeah.
I don't know what else. We have a lot of the same terminology, a lot of the things are the same. And what I'm trying to say is, people I don't think personally, me at least, I don't like watching tournaments where everyone's shooting 14 under, 13 under, 12 under. And then all of a sudden someone has a 4-shot lead and the tournament's over with 3 holes left.
Okay.
Because there's no chance.
Okay. So
right? Am I the only one that doesn't like watching that?
No.
Yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
A few things, and I appreciate all of your opinions so far. No, they're excellent. I think
Other than
yes.
I want to see score separation.
Yes, let's move it. I'm all for it. That's why we titled it "Jump Putting Should It Go Away." I think we should move it back. But here's a thought. And I don't know. Have you ever been up to Massachusetts before?
Probably Boston. Yeah.
Okay. There's a game called Candlepin Bowling. Okay, and it's a different version of 10 pin. It's using smaller balls, and the scores are way different. And people go, I don't like Candlepin because it's harder to get a good score. And I go, it's a different game. And so, what I'm trying to say is, yes, we're the same in the sense of golf, but we are a different version of golf where maybe it is, I'm just throwing out an altering opinion here. Maybe it is okay to say a good round in disc golf is to shoot a perfect round. Like that's a good round, and it can happen more often. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that is the best way to attract more people. I'm just saying that's maybe how it is right now. Would it be simple? Would it be simple enough to just push the circle back, keep all the rules the same? I like the idea. Push it back to circle 2, keep all the rules the same right now. Still call foot faults, the whole 9 yards. Does that fix our problem?
I think so, because even if someone illegally jump putts from 70 feet, it's not as bad as someone doing it from 34 feet.
Yep.
So it solves the problem as far as someone illegally jump putting, I guess. But I don't think it necessarily solves the problem of score separation. And I'll give you an example. Me, you, and Nick could go to a hole, and let's say the hole's 450 feet, and we could all throw completely different shots off the tee pad. Someone could throw a really good shot to 29 feet. Someone could throw one to, let's say, 60 feet, and then someone could shank one in the woods. And guess what? We're probably all going to get a 3 if the person that threw it to 29 feet is a bad putter.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And that's the problem, is there's not any score separation where, holy cow, that guy just threw an incredible, like a terrible shot. And I was talking to Austin Hannum about this. What is one of the most common phrases in disc golf? Let's see if you guys can get this.
The most common phrase.
Good bid.
After someone throws a tee shot.
Good shot.
Good shot. Also, okay, so maybe that's probably one of the top ones. That's a putt, I would say, is also one.
Oh yeah, that's a putt. Oh yeah, dude, that's a putt.
Oh yeah, don't worry, that's a putt.
Oh, don't worry, you got that. You got that putt.
What that basically is saying is you can just throw any type of shot on a lot of these holes, and don't worry, man, that's a putt. You're probably gonna get a par.
Yeah.
And that's my issue, is there is no real separation in. First off, there's no real separation in someone throwing it 5 feet under the basket and 25 feet. In my opinion, there should be more separation there for the top guys. And then there's no real separation for someone throwing it, let's say, 35 feet away from the basket and someone throwing it 100 feet away from the basket. Those average average pros are probably going to be making par from the same. So that's kind of where I would love to see just the separation. And I think you see those in the courses that are wooded more. But I think just watching stuff, I love watching it where it's like, holy cow, Kevin Jones literally just took a 7 on that hole, right? And now all of a sudden you're like, it's going to come down to 18, and 18's not a given birdie for everyone. So now you're like, someone could get a birdie, someone get a par, and then we saw some people get bogeys on that hole as well. Not that many, but
yeah.
I don't know.
I think
that's kind of my thoughts on it. I just want score separation.
I think kind of with the score separation right now is the way courses are designed at the moment. Like kind of we've been talking about this whole thing, and the first thing I thought of was, Eagle McMahon at D-Glow shot 11 down, 11 down, 11 down, 0 bogeys. And it's like, has a PGA player ever just gone out, murdered a course with shooting no bogeys or worse? Like that's insane. But then he played that so.
But we're not golf.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't make me lose my train of thought. So no, but then at USDGC where you have this wide open course, but you have to litter it with OB and hazards and everything like that to make it an enjoyable show to watch. But then like Brodie's saying, but you go to a wooded course, and now it's a completely different. Like someone could potentially say slip on a tee pad, and they hit the first available, while someone else throws it 400 feet down a fairway, and they're playing a long, long par 4 or par 5, like Northwoods Golds. I think that's one of the best courses so far that I've ever watched pro players play, because that's a course to where no matter how good you are at the sport, that course can absolutely destroy you as a person and as a disc golfer. And that's all I've heard from the pro disc golfers that I've talked to about it. I cannot wait to go out and play that course one day. But yeah, I think long wooded courses like that are where we do find a lot of scoring separation. I think other courses that we'll find it at is like at GBO when it's super windy. And you'll potentially find
relying on the weather.
Exactly.
And going to something that you said, talking about how you can only run up off the tee. I've obviously have had that idea as a potential of making the sport a little bit more difficult. I don't know if it would make it more fun to watch.
Yeah.
I think, now's the time that we could potentially have some events that try new rules and see, hey, that really worked or that sucked. But I think that also would help kind of, this idea of like, oh man, this course is really lucky, right? So if someone, let's say, shanks one off the tee pad 100 feet into the woods and it hits and kind of kicks back to the fairway, and then someone else throws pretty much the same exact shot, but it doesn't kick back to the fairway, the person that didn't get kicked back to the fairway, they're probably not going to have a run up, and they'll probably not have a really good angle to get the disc up, right?
Mm-hmm.
The person that kicked back in the fairway, they're probably still going to make a par, because they're wherever they landed, they're probably still going to be able to run up and throw, if it's a par 3, and still be able to get by the basket. If you make it to where they can't run up, now all of a sudden, that 350-foot shot or 300-foot shot standstill, now that becomes a lot more difficult. And talking to Austin about this too, it's funny because you guys are talking a lot of stuff that we were just talking about the other day. He was saying how that would have a big advantage on sidearm players.
I was just thinking that in my head.
Because you could still sidearm 300, 350, 400 feet standstill. Doing that with a backhand is a little bit more difficult.
Agreed.
But there might be some times where a sidearm doesn't shape as well as a backhand.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different variables there. But I don't know. To me, I'm always thinking about ways of like, hey, how can the game be more exciting for people to watch?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not thinking that way, then I will say that you're probably on the wrong train, because every sport, no matter how long it's been around, no matter how successful it is constantly thinking of new ways of making it more exciting. NFL, NBA, soccer, MLS, no one really watches that, so they're probably working really hard. But every sport is doing it. So this whole notion of why do we need to change disc golf? It's because there's going to be some ideas that are good, and there's going to be some ideas that are bad. But if you never attempt to try to make something better, then you're just going to kind of stay in a rut the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a few comments that came in that I thought were actually worth sharing and interesting. And is this, I haven't even thought it through, it just came in, was what about if you jump putt? You can jump putt from anywhere as long as you land behind your mini. So then you would eliminate foot faults as long as you land. Now it'd be tough, but as long as you landed in that place, your lie,
like the little sheet of paper.
As long as you landed there, you could run and jump or do whatever you want.
I kind of want to say something before we answer that.
Okay.
Is, have you ever tried to jump and throw a disc, like legitimately foot fault?
It's hard.
Yeah, it's awful. You're not gaining an advantage off of it. So the people who do foot fault are doing it so minuscule sometimes, I think, that it's like, if they were to blatantly, like, really badly foot fault, that's usually when, say Chris Dickerson foot faults on one of his step putts, he usually misses it for that reason. The times that he does have a clean putt. And so, like,
I think what golf did, and again, disc golf isn't golf. I get it. I understand. Yes. But guess what? It's the closest sport to it. So what golf did is they took away the anchoring. So players started having really long putters, and they basically would anchor it up against their sternum. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but they basically would put it up against their sternum, and then they just have a nice pendulum motion. And golf was like, okay, that's making putting way too easy. So they basically said that you can't anchor to a third part, and then people started they started trying to anchor it on their forearm. If you look at like how Bryson putts, he has it up in his forearm, so it's like attached to his arm, and technically I guess that's not anchoring, even though it's very close to kind of being a third part. Everyone's going to be trying to do stuff to make the game easier, and I don't think sports are enjoyable to watch when it's easy. I would never watch a putt tournament for golf. Yeah. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And maybe you watch it one time, but I don't think putt would be something that people would consistently watch. So
my son loves to watch putt on YouTube. That's like one of his favorite channels. I'm like, it's incredible. I mean, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
There are some people that have some sick, but you watch those for the courses. You don't watch those necessarily for the players.
Good point.
To see what courses you need to go when you travel.
Comparing golf.
But yeah,
you ready?
I think just taking away the step putt would be basically making it so people like or the jump putt, whatever, those people that are really, really good at it, it would just make putting more difficult. I think that's kind of the idea, and I don't think anyone's purposely cheating. I think it just would make it more difficult for those players.
I really like the comment someone just put in, Daniel Willis. He always comments to us, but he says, I don't think it's the rules that are making the game too easy. It's the courses. And I want to say I agree with that to a very, very large extent. I do think that there are courses out
except
on the road.
for OB.
What's that?
Except for OB.
Yeah. The OB rule compared to, I know you were always saying that in golf it's different. I don't know golf rules all that well, but
they need to have strategic OB that is stroke and distance, and then they need to have hazards that just how USDGC had it, where sometimes if you land in it, it's a stroke and you play from that spot. And then other times if you go OB, it's a straight up re-tee. And I think we saw a lot of guys have to think about a lot of shots, and I don't think we really see that at a lot of tournaments. A lot of times guys just step up and they throw, and there's not much decision making. It's pretty obvious of like, if I throw a good shot, I'm going to get a birdie. If I throw a bad shot, it's going to go OB and I'm going to have a 30-footer for par.
Yeah.
Versus, if I go OB, I'm literally re-teeing, and that's my whole point about stroke and distance. Hole 17 is not, if you look at it, it's not one of the hardest holes on the court on the tour, from what I've talked about with other guys. If you remove the stroke and distance
for USDGC.
Right? For USDGC, yeah. The actual shot that is required, if you remove the drama of 17 major, if you remove the stroke and distance, it is a stock forehand for a lot of people, or it's a putter shot for a lot of people, backhand, 220 feet.
Just about, yeah.
Right? It's the stroke and distance what makes it hard, because you stand up there and you realize, if I don't throw this in this area, I have to re-tee. That's the main reason I would say why that whole plays so difficult, is because the mental aspect of it.
And it makes it and to your point, it makes it exciting to watch. I mean, it can be it can also be frustrating too. You're kind of like, I just saw a guy get ripped off because whatever, but like, it adds that element of excitement for sure.
Ripped off though.
Yeah. Okay, so
he threw the shots though. How did he get ripped off?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you hear people talk about a course playing unfair. Let's talk about like, we don't need to go down this road, but like GBO or something else, or pick Preserve. No, not Preserve. That has very little OB.
Yeah, like Eureka.
Anyways, what about this idea for putting? Now, again, I'm going to compare this to golf, if you will, because that's what we are, the sport of golf. But we don't have to change it this way. But like on a actual golf course where you're hitting a ball with a club, the greens, they are all different sizes. They're all different shapes. They have different, you've played professional golf. They have all different slopes and angles, and the hole changes where it is. Someone had this comment earlier. I think it was when we posted that Chris Dickerson was coming on the show. They said, what if a course designer could actually design the putting area for a disc golf course? Now let that sink in for a second. That's really interesting. Why couldn't they say, in this section over here, you can be 10 feet from the basket, but you're like on a cliff edge, like, so whatever, but out over here, 120 feet, that's too easy. So like, we're going to push it back. Like, the green would be painted out however they wanted it to be, and it'd be like a golf course. What do you think about that?
Oh, so it's not necessarily circle one. It's just
It would be
the
considered not circle, but we could call it putting one or something. Like they can determine what
and
they want it to look
what
like.
is the advantage of being in it versus out of it?
Well, you could have the same rule,
yeah,
same rules, but like the putting area, we could call it, if you will, could be in a very thick tree bush area. It might be closer to the basket than if it's wide open. They might say no, the putting.
Oh,
area.
but there's no rule difference.
Right.
You're just saying
Area.
let's get some more interesting greens.
Yeah.
So you don't. Yeah.
Always circle one, circle two.
I'm 100% for it because right now we have a free throw situation where guys are throwing shots and Austin. I'll keep going back to Austin because we literally were just talking about that. He was saying, I don't know what tournament he was talking about, but he was saying there was a Final 9 or something that he was in, and fans would literally start running to the next hole before everyone putted out because the putts were 20 feet, 25 feet, 23 feet. They all knew that they were going to be made. So they're already running. They're not paying attention. And again, I'll go back to golf. I don't think anything outside of 3 feet, even sometimes a 3-footer in golf, if the slope is, if it's downhill or if it's like a left to right, a 3-footer in golf is not guaranteed. So I'm 100% for setting up greens to where people aren't consistently having to putt the same way.
Interesting.
And whether that's adjusting the height of the basket a little bit to where it's okay, this one's a little bit lower, this one's a little bit higher, so it's again not the same, or like you were saying, adjusting the kind of terrain around. I'm super for even the idea of like having some holes have like moguls, like little bumps and stuff around to where now everyone has been there where you have a 25-footer, you set up, you're like, I'm going to cash this in, and then you get ready, and then your left foot is like on a root, and you're like, what? And then you start thinking to yourself like, okay, can I just putt through this? Do I have to go straddle? And then, so now you're second guessing yourself. You're like, it's not going to bother me. And you just putt and you miss. And the reason you miss is because there was a root underneath your left foot, right? We've all been there. So it's like, can we manufacture that to where now someone throwing a 5-foot shot, that means a lot more because now that is the tap in 5 feet. But now someone throwing it to 20 feet, like you were saying, you can set it up where, hey, if you throw it right of the basket on this hole, you're dead.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes to what you were saying, like, oh man, like I was unlucky or whatever. Like you threw that shot there. So unless you didn't prepare and didn't realize that if you throw right of the basket, you don't have a putt, like you threw that shot there. It's not unlucky that you threw a bad shot. And I talk about golf. When have you ever heard a golfer get up to their ball and go, oh my God, my ball's in this bunker? What the heck? It's like, you knew the bunker was there. You hit your shot in the bunker. So now you have to, deal with the outcome that you have to try to get up and down versus hitting to the right side of the green to where you give yourself a putt.
I do like the idea of, like we were saying, the moguls inside the green area, especially inside of a certain footage. One thing that I do not want to see in disc golf is more of like what they use at USDGC, those little pillars in front of 5 feet.
I'm not a fan of that.
I think every so often there's a course that you'll have a basket inside of like a spider tree. And every so often that's like, hey, yeah, it's kind of aesthetically cool. I like that. But when you're playing a top level event and you have a couple holes to where there's literally these 4 pillars 5 feet from the basket, like I just think that's really poor design. So I don't want to see course designers kind of like either put up stuff like that or put baskets right next to trees. I kind of find that frustrating when you're kind of like, hey,
well, I like it next to trees though, if it's in a way to where it's only accessible. Because like right now for most holes, okay, you have the circle, right? So let's just look at it like as a pie chart, right? So right now, a lot of times the basket's right in the middle of the pie chart, and for a lot of these holes, if you land it anywhere in the pie chart, you're good. You have a putt. I would love to see where it's like actually you have to land it in this 50% quadrant, and if you land it any of the other 50% quadrant, you don't have a putt.
It's a struggle.
So now your landing zone is a lot smaller. So like, for example, like just putting the basket, let's say there's a bunch of trees and stuff behind, just put the basket, 5 feet from that tree. So everything in front, you're good. Everything behind, you're bad. So on your upshot, you now have to land short. You have to play and land short and be more precise. Because right now, I think in disc golf, the precision of these guys are so good, but we're giving them a huge area. I mean, if you think about it, 30 feet, 33 feet circle. I mean, that's a massive area for a lot of people to throw into. So it's like, how do you make it smaller? How would you feel about playing that hole, Nick?
Well, yeah, so I think I like what you're saying, especially when it comes to the preparation of it. Like, you need to know where you are trying to land, and if you're in that left side of the pie zone, that's the good side. But if you're on the right side, yeah, it is jail. I think I like the idea of it, especially if it is natural. Like if it's with trees, I don't mind
Yeah.
that as bad. I think there are some times where I'll play a casual course, one that more than likely they don't have tournaments or I'm not going to play a tournament there. And I think I get kind of annoyed at the course design when they do have holes set up like that. But I think on the other hand, for a tournament, 99% of the time I am preparing for that tournament by playing rounds and I'm trying to figure out, yes, this is where I want to land, to not have a situation like that. I think kind of like what I was saying more so with it is when I do go and play a casual course and I see a hole to where it's like, why is the basket there? That's literally the dumbest spot you could have put it. I think that's kind of what I was getting at, but as long as they don't do what USDGC did, I'm totally happy with that.
Yeah. I mean, you could do, I'm also a fan of like the bunkers too. When they do play like on golf courses,
Yeah.
to where if you landed a bunker, it's a shot plus you having to throw from there. Cause when you hit a golf ball in a green sign bunker, getting up and down from that is what you're trying to accomplish. Right.
Yeah.
So that would be the sense of like, if you throw it 20 feet left of the basket in a bunker, now you have to make that putt to essentially get up and down because you get that penalty stroke. I like that because again, that's kind of making putting harder, if you will, with the idea of, you didn't throw the perfect shot, or not the perfect shot. You didn't throw a good shot. You didn't lean on the side of safety. You went aggressive. And again, that changes the game too, of where people might not be trying to throw underneath the basket anymore. People might be playing out to the side and give themselves a 30-footer to try to make that par, and then that gives the ability of people being aggressive or playing safe.
Interesting, and people are gonna totally, like, I don't know, our live feed numbers have frozen. I don't know how many are here, but people are going crazy right now, and they're gonna roast me too. But this is okay. What if there was an area where you could not putt from? So like you could be literally 3 or 4 feet away from the basket, but you could not putt from there because it was marked out. Like, so like
what would you do?
You would yeah, that's a good question. What would you do? But my point is, like, I don't know, you'd have to use a driver. That'd be stupid. But my point is, like, it was the idea of the golf greens. Again, the shape and design is different. Why not create areas where it's considered not putting? And to your point, so if it's 4 feet away, yeah, what if we just put a big bush right there? Like literally like 4 feet to the left of it. Now, some people are going to say, to Nick's point, he didn't like the mozzarella sticks, but like, what is okay to put that close to it? Because I think it is cool. Let's force people to throw to a certain area. What natural objects can we plant? Bushes? Is that acceptable? Like, what are we talking?
And good players are going to want that. The better players are going to want that because now they have a bigger advantage, and it's not. And again, that's where you'll see the score separation come in more, because right now the score separation is so hard to get. Especially on a lot of these par 3 courses where it's literally just you're either birdieing or making a par. You're never making a bogey. But I think I'm a fan of if you can naturally set it up to where greens are difficult. And I think we've all played courses like that have a couple holes at the course where you're like, this is an awesome green, and where you need to throw it and where you need to miss it. If you can do that naturally, I think that's great. And if you can't do it naturally, then I think you can do things like, hey, we're going to make the left side of the green hazard. So if you land in it, it's a stroke penalty.
There you go.
And you have to putt.
There you go. So that just real quick, because I think that's probably more what I was thinking. So you can make a putt from there, But let's say we made it. It's a hazard area right to the side of it, whether it's 5, 6, 7 feet, however you want to design that hole. I love that.
Yeah. And I think too, like if you have penalty areas around the basket, they need to either be hazard or they need to be OB, that's stroke and distance. This notion that you can just chuck a disc 150 feet away from the basket, but it went over OB 30 feet away from the basket, and then you have a putt for par. I think that needs to kind of go away. Because again, there's no score separation there. Yeah. You can have people spray all sorts of different types of shots, and you're not really rewarding the people that threw good shots.
So you saw the USDGC in previous years, I'm guessing, or you went back and watched, but that's how it always was.
I've seen a couple.
Yeah, so that's how it always was. And I think, honestly, that's what separated that event in a lot of ways. It was a big separator course. So
yeah, I think it's tough, especially like what Brodie's saying, is when you're playing a course, like say a par 3, and you do have OB close, like that person who threw it OB long in the basket, they're going to take a 3. So the person on their card, another person, either parks it or threw it 30 feet short, missed the putt, and they're getting the same score. But one guy went out of bounds, was penalized with an OB stroke, but still pretty much had a drop in 3. So I don't think, like, if you go OB, you should be penalized more so than what it is right now in disc golf. But that also, same thing, it kind of roots back to course design in a sense.
I just think it's really hard to make a birdie. It's not that hard to make a par, right? So what can we do to make it harder to get a par? I think is what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Because you need to reward the people that get a birdie way more than what is happening right now. Because like Nick just said, even in that instance, I could throw a terrible shot and get a 3, and Nick could park the hole and get a 2, and he only got 1 stroke on me. That's not interesting to me watching.
No, and you unfortunately, and I don't remember the reasoning why you didn't make it out to Maple Hill, but Maple Hill, in my opinion,
because I sucked and I needed to get home and get better.
We actually kind of talked about that. No, I'm kidding. We're looking forward to it if you make it out next year. But I think, and Nick has said, and I'm putting words in his mouth, Maple Hill plays soft. It doesn't play soft. I think when you get your birdies, you're happy that you got your birdies.
I don't really think it plays soft. I wouldn't say that, because obviously it shredded me this year, but the year before that I did okay. But no, I think honestly Maple Hill.
Do they do it right? Are the putting areas right? I mean, hole 8, they moved it closer to the water. Hole 9 is that peninsula green. Like,
when I say Maple Hill is soft, I'm meaning that the par is soft. It's a national or a pro tour event with a par 60. That's not the hardest of, like, that's a lot of par 3s that are out there. There's no par 5s at Maple Hill. It's stuff like that.
Isn't it wild that our par 5s are considered hard just because they're par 5s, but in golf, a par 5 is always normally the easiest?
Yeah.
And the reason for that is there's more shot. Putting is easy in disc golf, right? So you only have to throw 1 shot and then you're putting. Par 5s, you normally have to throw at least 2 shots, most of the time 3 shots.
I don't know.
Yeah, see, the thing about par 5s, like at Fox Run on hole number 7, if there's no wind, there's OB on your right and your left, but if you bogey that hole, you kind of screwed up, because you can lay up short, lay up again, get onto the green, and it's a very simple par 5 when there's no wind to it. And I think if you're playing open courses like that, the par 5s are generally more simple.
Think about how hard the par 5 at Idlewild would be if it was stroke and distance.
Is that so the, like, hole 15?
The one on the backside.
Or no, 16, yeah.
Think about how hard that would be if that was stroke and distance.
Exactly, because a lot of players, let's say a righty backhand, are throwing these massive hyzers, and if they do land too far to the right and they're out of bounds, so you say off the drive they're re-teeing, would that be the stroke and distance call on that?
Yeah.
So now that person's re-teeing. So
you're throwing 3.
Instead of throwing a max distance, hyzer that they're doing, now they're throwing either, a mid, a fairway, or like a hybrid driver, just kind of like more of a layup-ish type shot. And they're not, I think that's the stroke and distance, would create people not throwing these incredibly hard shots and not getting.
But Paul would. But think about it. Paul would, right? Because Paul was losing.
Yep.
At that situation. So that's where it's exciting, because now you have risk reward.
Yes.
Now you have the guys that are like, I need to make a move. I need to throw an incredible shot. And now we're watching to see, like, can he pull this off? And then you have other people that are trying to play safe, which in turn is still not, I mean, playing safe on that hole is still not hard, especially if you go, if you make OB long of the green, if you make that stroking distance, and then you make the creek hazard, right? To where if you land in there, you take a stroke and you play from there, basically. Now all of a sudden, like, that's not an easy 5, even if you just go dink, 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 and then try to get it on that green. So to me, like, that's exciting, because now Paul pulls off and he goes big on his tee shot. He makes it. He goes big on his second shot and he lands it all the way down there. Now he's got a putt for eagle. And now whoever he was chasing, well, I mean, I guess eagle was on the chase card at that point, but
he was technically chasing eagle in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think risk reward is what really makes a really good hole.
Agreed.
Yeah.
100%. And that's why the best kind of like finishes that we've seen all year are finishes to where it was a close race up until the last 3 holes. Like, that's when the real battle started, was on the last 3 holes at USDGC. There were multiple tournaments this year, like DDO between Calvin. Calvin shoots this amazingly hot round from the chase card, and Paul Paul shoots only 2 down that round. And so look at what Calvin did to him. Look at the scoring separation in that round when it came to all the OB.
I love that.
And all the wind. Like, that was insane. Multiple tournaments were like that this year, to where there really was some score separation. But I do like when we talk about courses that are too easy, and it was very fun to watch because it was a battle, but the Preserve was a course where everyone was shooting 14, 15, 16 down. I think it was something like that. It did have one of the greatest finishes this year. Congrats to Nico, obviously getting his first big win in a really long time. That was fun to watch, but at the same time, all you're seeing on UDisc Live is just blue numbers, blue and dark blue. You're not really seeing any orange, dark orange, or anything like that.
Okay. This is a quick pause, because now we've got Simon Lazat in the chat bringing up some points, and I think it's only fair to bring up his points. He says a sport should strive to have good execution, be rewarded, and bad execution be punished. Most popular sports have that. In disc golf, this is way out of proportion. That's the problem with most courses, and that's kind of what you just brought up, Nick, is the Preserve. We liked seeing the battle because everybody was able to be rewarded when they threw good shots, and it didn't seem gimmicky. Now, to that point, I do want to give one shout out real quick. It would be remiss not to. Super chat out there saying check out the idea of smaller baskets. Brodie, you've shared some opinions on making it harder or more exciting. You're newer to the sport. This has been around for a while. I'd say the last few years, the conversation. Steve Dodge formed a committee, if you will, to even talk about this at one point. Was the idea of, should we shrink the basket size? Now, we've talked about a bunch of other ideas, but what would shrinking the basket size do, in your opinion? Should we do both things?
I think if you're going to shrink it, you would have to shrink the height, not the width.
Gotcha.
Because a couple reasons. One, most pros miss high or low. You very rarely see them miss left or right. So shrinking it down would make more misses. And then I think if you were to shrink the width, you would see more spit outs, which is one of the worst things I think disc golf has.
Yeah. But how do you,
for viewers?
Yeah, how do you fix spit outs though? I mean, that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Oh, you don't? Yeah, no, spit outs are spit outs. Okay. But like if you go down, you're not going to increase spit outs. If you go, if you bring in the width, there would be more spit outs, right? So I think going down, if you're going to do anything with the basket size, I think you have to go a little bit down.
Yeah. And
if you want to try that.
You've talked about it before. You've said it in the past where you like the idea of elevated baskets. And I always say I hate watching the Memorial because of Vista when you play on 9 of them. Like I
don't think you want to have that many. I think naturally elevated baskets.
Yep.
If you can do that, I think that's amazing. I'm playing Veterans this weekend, tomorrow. Simon's played that. I don't know how not a lot of people like the course, but I will say that they do have a lot of greens and baskets where they're like on the hills, right? To where, and I think we saw that a little bit at Hornets Nest, where they had some of the baskets on these kind of hillsides of where, depending on where your disc lands, your approach shot lands, you might have an an uphill putt, even though the basket necessarily isn't elevated. But then also talking to Kat, she brought up a good point of, she can't be more than 5'5".
Yeah.
And if she throws a good shot and she's 5 feet under the basket, now all of a sudden that 5 foot that should be really a tap in, that's like a really hard putt to like throw something straight up like that. So a way that you could kind of get around that is if you made like a base around the basket to where if you actually threw a really good shot, you kind of stand up on this base so that you don't have this awkward like throwing a 5 foot shot but having to throw it straight up in the air, especially if it's windy. But yeah, I'm a fan of just like, I don't want to see stock putts every single time. These guys are too good. I would love to see to where not every 25 footer is guaranteed. And then when someone does miss a 25 footer, the response isn't, oh, that guy choked, or, oh, that guy, whatever. Like, I'll go back to golf. I think right around I think a 3-footer in golf, I believe, was like somewhere around like 90% on the PGA Tour. And then as you go to like a 4-footer, 5-footer, 6-footer, like just going barely back, it's massive. I believe I think a 6-footer is close to 50% on the tour. So right now, the best players, let's say, like, because I think we have probably 40 actual pros. How many actual pros do we have
in disc golf?
MPO? For MPO, yeah, guys that are like
consistently doing
playing,
it.
Consistently playing tournaments.
I'd say you could probably safely bet 25 to 30.
Consistently at every tournament?
Yeah, consistently go to every single tournament. I would say maybe 30 to 40, but
touring. We're talking touring.
Yeah, talking touring. I would say probably 25 to 30.
People that aren't just playing tournaments to try to play with Paul or Simon or Calvin. People that are actually doing it for like it's their job.
Yeah, so we'll say.
Yeah, I think that's a fair.
30,
I think that's a fair.
30 to 40.
We'll say, so of those 30 guys, right? So let's just say like the top. We can also just say the top 30 guys in disc golf ranking points. Their percentage at like 30 feet is still well above 50%.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. Where a 6-footer in golf is 50%. So my thought is like, how do we get it to where like a 20-footer that like at 20 feet, maybe that is the 90%. And then as you go to like 25, it drops significantly to like 80%. And then maybe 30 feet, it drops even more to maybe 30 feet is the 50%, where it's like a coin flip of whether or not they make it. I think that would just be more interesting for viewers to watch, because now they're having to watch a lot more shots. Because let's be honest, if someone lands it in 20 feet, if you're live, like Austin was saying, people are running to the next hole to try to get a good spot versus like, I need to watch this 20-footer to see if he makes it.
Yeah, so I think we can kind of go back to tougher greens. I think that's one of the biggest things.
Full circle.
Full circle right back to that.
That's the easiest way.
It's pretty much tougher greens. And that does stem from course designing. I understand that. And a lot of people have been saying that in the comments is course design. And you got to realize that a lot of these courses that were designed years and years ago before the technology is what it is now in disc golf. Especially when you play in different parts of the country. Like California has a lot of old school courses. Here in Massachusetts.
And also where the players are too, right? I go back 15, 20 years, I doubt those guys are practicing as much as the top guys now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Eagle mentioned that in our interview with him a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's only going to keep getting better, because right now, like you said, there's only 30 guys that are probably doing it consistently. Like, what happens when there's 100?
Yeah.
Those 30 guys, there's probably a couple of those 30 people that are probably slacking, right? They're going to get kicked out by the 20 guys that are grinding harder than them. So as the sport grows, it's only going to get easier and easier if they continue to play the same courses.
Yeah.
And again, I think you need kind of what Simon was saying. You need to make it to where good shots get rewarded, bad shots get penalized. And then that way you have it to where whoever played the best that weekend is going to win a tournament.
And that's what we want to see. We do want to see the best player win off of playing well and not a fluky outcome and stuff like that.
Dude, people in the chats right now are literally, I just have to say, I had to keep switching shots. They're making me laugh so hard. Like they're roasting Brodie and me right now. They're saying Nick's the only one who's got things right. But here's the deal.
It's false.
It's super.
What is Nick disagreed with?
I don't know. Maybe what I said about course designing and everything like that.
Okay.
I might be a favorite. It's the Nick and Matt
yeah,
show.
the Nick and Matt show. So
I use
it's
the
okay. People like to hate, so it's fine. I'll take it. They can give it to me.
Okay, so what just happened right now is Nick just abandoned me, right? So Brodie,
it's me and you. It's the Brodie and Matt show now.
Yeah, you got to hold on. You got to hold on for a little bit here. I was not expecting Nick to round. This is the first time that's ever happened. So this is like a date he just set up. He's like, bro, I gotta go. All right, so he'll be back.
Happens.
So I think your opinions are very interesting. And so while you're sitting here, we've kind of really went all around on all different ideas. So Brodie, in your opinion, how does the sport then start to get these changes? It's by conversation, obviously. That's what starts it, the conversation. The PDGA has a rules committee. And like, is it going to be our voice right now talking that's going to bring this conversation to them? Or what do you think?
Well,
Should you start a committee, a players committee?
I think the Disc Golf Pro Tour is doing a phenomenal job. And I think they are very interested in continuing to improve and continuing to take steps and doing things differently and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And I have complete faith in Todd and Jeff that are basically running that over there. I've talked to both of them multiple times, and they seem like they know exactly what they need to be doing now. And they also are very open to new ideas. And I think that's key. I think this notion of, hey, two things. First off, I think the idea, it's completely fine to disagree with someone.
Yeah.
All right. And I think in anything, that's what makes sports so exciting, is because the people saying this is my favorite team or this is the best player or whatever, and everyone disagreeing. If you have everyone agreeing and everyone like group thinking and doing the same thing, I think that's bad. So I think you do need people to just come out and say ideas. And if it sucks, whatever. The notion though that you need to be in a sport for a certain amount of time, or you need to be you're not 1,000 rated, so I don't want to listen to you. This whole notion of like we should only take ideas from certain people, I think that's a bad way of going about it. I think anyone could have a good idea, and I think everyone should be listening. And the Disc Golf Pro Tour is doing that. I know they're active in Facebook groups that they're just opening conversations and they're reading comments of what fans are saying. So people that might be brand new fans, people that might be not 1,000 rated, they're listening to everyone. And I think that is what needs to happen for the sport to continue to grow, is listening to a big group of ideas and picking and choosing ones that you think might work and going and seeing what happens. So to answer your question, I think something that definitely needs to happen is I think the top players definitely need to get together and talk some stuff out. And I think there's a lot of easy things that the Pro Tour could do to advance the sport. And I think there does need to be some. You mentioned like a players. What'd you say?
I think it was a committee, or I think there actually is a players committee. Someone brought it up in one of our chats.
Trevor Harble has brought it up a couple times about the players committee. He commented on it, actually, our Yuli discussion. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I do know that there is either in the works or there has been in the past a players committee, which I do think there should be in disc golf, especially the way that it's growing. And like Brodie was saying, you kind of have your top pros. That is where you get a lot of insight from. And that is, obviously, these guys know a thing or two about disc golf, and these women know a thing or two about disc golf as well, to where they do need to have a players association and kind of be in the loop on everything that's going on. But I do want to say that I think the Disc Golf Pro Tour, like Brodie was saying, is doing incredible things when it comes to, like what someone was saying in the chat, vetting courses to bring in better venues and everything like that. Who are you allowing to play the event? They've set up Well, I mean, in the sense of ratings.
I'm sorry.
Wise,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
In the
bro,
sense of ratings wise,
people are just being so freaking funny right now.
Yeah.
They're like, "You want to make it harder? Let's have everyone
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
lotion up before they throw."
Yeah,
It's just it is pretty funny. But like, we're being serious here though. And to
Yeah.
that point, I want to just say this, Brodie, and I know you don't need to hear it from me. But when you came into the sport, I was extremely happy because I didn't know you at all besides, your YouTube stuff. But I knew you bring a voice that said what you thought and shared your opinions. And I think to people who are commenting and saying, "Oh, you've been in the sport too short of a time period," absolutely false. And I just wanted to reiterate, because you said it for yourself, but I want to say it for you too. I want to hear any ideas and throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And that's what I'm about. And that's why you and me, and maybe Nick doesn't do it as loudly as us, but like, we all share our opinions. Nick shares his, and I think that it's
Yeah.
super important. And the sport, you're coming into the sport, and you must know this, at a very unique time in its history. Like, it is one of those like big transitioning times you will talk about. So
Yeah.
welcome to the
And
sport.
I think that's one of the reasons I actually decided to seek a career in it. If the sport was in a different, maybe if the sport was 5-10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have seeked a career in it. But the way that the sport is growing and where it is right now, it's exciting. And I think they're doing a lot of things the right way. And I think they just things need to continue to go that way. And I know, there's going to be people on here listening and stuff, but the thing is like, where the sport is right now, it's so small to where it potentially could be 5-10 years from now. So yeah, maybe the majority, and I don't even know if it is the actual majority of fans of disc golf out there, all believe one thing. That might not necessarily be where what the majority thinks 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Right. As you bring in more and more players, as you bring in more people playing the sport. And that was my that was my argument always with Ultimate Frisbee is Ultimate Frisbee always wanted to be like, if you don't think the way we think about things, you're not welcome. And my whole notion was, if you look at any other sport, the reason why all these sports are so successful is they have tons of different leagues and tons of different divisions in the sport. There's people out there that play pickup basketball that don't watch the NBA. There's people out there that go and play YMCA basketball leagues and are huge NBA fans, right? There's tons of different people in basketball, but I kind of get this notion that smaller fringe sports love to have this idea of like community, like this is and you hear it a lot, the disc golf community. I never really heard that in any other sport other than ultimate and disc golf. Like I played golf, but I never really heard the golf community. Right? Or when I played football or any other sport, I never really heard like, well, this is what the football community thinks about. And it's because that doesn't really exist, because there's so many different divisions in football. There's people that love college football, hate the NFL, right? There's people that love the NFL, hate college football.
Yeah.
So those people would not necessarily be in the same community, right?
Do you think that you have to lose community to grow the sport? I mean, in some sense,
No,
because
there's gonna be a local community.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. But would you say that LeBron James is in the same basketball community as some random pickup game that happens every Thursday night under the lights at a outdoor park?
Yeah.
Are they in the same basketball community?
So no. And so what but I guess what I'm trying to, for sake of conversation, are you saying then this is a growing pain of where the sport is? Because to this point, it would almost be called like, I don't know if you want to call it the golden age, but like literally people are able to walk, or they used to be able to pre-COVID. You'd be able to walk around on the card with Paul Macbeth in the top card and literally talk to them while they're throwing. Now that's very unique to any pro sport. Is this a growing pain that is going to have to leave then? Because like,
well, I will ask you this question: why can you do that in disc golf, but you can't do it in any other pro sport?
My guess is there's a lot of security issues there at this point because the sport is so big. That'd be my guess.
But why, like golf, again, going back to golf allowed people to kind of follow on the fairways and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then they basically did away with that as golf got more and more popular, right? I think the first answer is obviously safety for the players, right? That's the clear number one answer is like you can't be having guys that can just run up to Paul McBeth,
right?
Because you don't know what they're gonna. All you need is one incident, and then all of a sudden, like whatever. Yeah. But I think the second thing is, I make this analogy. Nick, you are single, so you're gonna have to be the guy to answer this question. Because I know, Matt, you're a married man, right, so I'm not gonna put you on the spot. Attention. Nick, who is your biggest crush?
As in, like, a famous person?
Yeah, famous celebrity crush right now.
Got like 4, but I'm pretty sure she just got married.
Okay.
Daisy.
All right, narrow it down to 1.
Yeah, Daisy Ridley. She plays Rey from the new Star Wars series.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
she just got.
He's
married.
all breathing heavy over here now, Brodie. I can hear it in the mic.
You don't have any brothers, do you?
I have an older brother.
Okay, you have an older brother. Yeah. Okay, perfect. I don't know if he's married or not, but let's assume he's single. Okay. He starts dating Daisy Ridley. I'm just gonna call her Daisy because I don't remember her last name. Yeah. He starts dating Daisy. Okay. He texts you, bro, you will not believe this. Guess who my new girlfriend is? Okay. You start freaking out, obviously, right? You're going nuts. You're freaking out.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I'm bringing her over to the house to meet the family. Get ready. You're nervous. You're sweaty. You're pissed. All this stuff is happening, obviously, right? She comes over to the house. You meet her. You probably don't even know what to say. All of a sudden, Thanksgiving rolls around a couple months later. She comes home for Thanksgiving. Fast forward a little bit. Now it's Christmas. She comes home for Christmas. Fast forward. You spend a lot of time. You go on vacation with them. You hang out. You've seen her fart. You've seen her make bad jokes. You've seen all these things, okay? Fast forward 2 years now, okay? You've hung out with her so much. One of your friends comes over that you haven't really told, hey, my brother is married to Daisy. And Daisy's over there, he starts freaking out, and you're like, bro, chill, right? You're like, chill, it's cool. Yeah, he's like, why are you freaking out? It's because you've hung out with that person so much to where they're no longer this crazy person. They're just a normal dude.
Yeah.
And that, at the end of the day, all these athletes, all these celebrities, at the end of the day, they're all normal people. Mm-hmm. And if you actually hang out with them enough, you'll realize they're not any cooler than anyone else. So what does sports, what do movies, what do plays? Like when you go to a play, you can't walk up onto the stage and ask them questions when they go backstage to change. You can't do it. The whole reason for that is there needs to be some sort of wall, some sort of thing of I'm here to watch you perform. Mm-hmm. And the whole notion of I can pull up into a parking lot and Paul McBeth pulls up next to me and we're both getting out when I'm going to watch him play. To me, that's just insane. And I think it takes away this kind of like allure of these players. And that's kind of my notion. When you think about it, when you meet someone that is like a celebrity to you and you end up finding out that they're not as cool as you thought they were, it's a huge letdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's, and again, like not all players are the same. So I heard you talking, Matt, earlier about Chris Dickerson, where you're like, I'm just going to go up and break up his putting practice and just talk to him.
Yeah.
There's going to be some guys that are completely fine with that. There's going to be some guys that hate that.
Exactly.
Right? And if Chris Dickerson would have handled it the wrong way, and again, I'm saying the wrong way, that's not necessarily the wrong way. If you would have came up to him and him be like, bro, I'm putting right now. Can you hit me later? You probably would have walked away and been like, dude, Chris is a jerk. Mm-hmm. And now you're telling all your buddies, dude, Chris is a jerk. And it's like, that's not fair.
No.
Because that's his job. He doesn't go to your job and interrupt you while you're at work. So this whole notion, again, people can roast me all they want in the comments. It doesn't exist in any other sport. It doesn't exist in any other job. And there's a reason for it. And I think when you take away this like magical door and let everyone in, it doesn't make it as cool. So can we dress it up more and make it to where you're behind a wall and maybe to only get an autograph? If you want to get an autograph from your favorite player, you have to go to this specific spot. So when the player's done with the round, if they want to, they can go over and sign autographs at that specific spot.
Yeah, I agree. And I kind of want to, because I've been reading chat this whole time, and I kind of want to reiterate on this whole thing. You know, people are saying, why change disc golf? Why change it? More so what we're talking about is disc golf in the pro level. On the touring level,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a lot of
That's
people
all
don't
I talk
realize
about.
that, and I want to make sure that that's very clear. A lot of what we're talking about are changes to the professional level of the sport. People who go out and do this for a living, 99% of the pros that I've talked to have talked about, look, disc golf does need to change in these respected areas. In your local communities, like we like to call them, disc golf can stay exactly the way it is, exactly its way it's been 20 years ago, and exactly the way it will be in 20 years. That's totally fine. But we're more so talking about the professional scene of it. It's not
Can you
it's not a
can you throw
great
those
thing.
comments up real quick, Matt?
Yeah, I'll pull some up. Here we go.
I'm
Because
I'm
I'm
more
only
so
on Skype.
I'm more so
Sorry,
saying,
keep going.
yeah, I'm more so saying that like when we're on a professional level of the sport, there have been times where like I've caddied for Paul at Ledgestone multiple times, and people just go right up to him, sometimes mid round, and ask for an autograph. Like I've seen that happen so many times to touring pros. Imagine like I remember you telling me a story to where you were hanging out at a PGA event, and was it Dustin Johnson? Someone turned around and was like, "Oh, what's up, Brodie?" And you're kind of just like, "Oh, hey, man." But then you don't have a casual conversation with him. He
Yeah,
recognizes you.
it was Jordan Spieth.
Jordan
Yeah.
Spieth. Yeah. But
Yeah.
then like imagine like you wouldn't just go up to Tiger Woods and be
No.
like, "Oh, dude, what's up? Like, you're about to tee off. I know, I'm sorry, but can I get your autograph really quick?" Like, that's not a professional thing to do, and you wouldn't
Okay.
be able to do that in that
All right.
sport.
So a couple of things. One, someone said stop calling it change, call it evolution. Love it. Can you pull up Trevor's comment? It might be like 10 back.
Let me see.
I don't know if we
Trevor, he said the one thing
Oh,
I
here we
like
go.
about disc golf
Travis?
is like how relatable, I think.
Best thing in disc
Is
golf
that-
is how relatable the players and the fact I can play the same course as them.
Okay, so
Travis.
two things. One, I don't think the playing the same course will ever change. I think you'll always be able to go and play the same course as the players. The baskets might not be in the same spot, and you might have to throw from tees that aren't necessarily there. But that's one of the cool things in golf is, hey, the U.S. Open was just played at this tournament. I want to go and test my skills and see what I would shoot, right? I don't think that goes away. The only reason, and some people might hate me for this, but the only reason that disc golfers are more relatable than, I guess what he's saying is disc golfers are more relatable than other sports. One, I would challenge that because there's a lot of other pro athletes that are extremely relatable if you actually hung out with them. But the second thing too is, guess what's going to happen when Chris Dickerson wins $5 million in a year?
Mhm.
Guess what happens when Big Germ is now making millions of dollars in a year, right? Are those guys going to be as relatable? You know, Ezra right now living out of his Prius, that probably makes it really relatable for a lot of people. Like he's grinding, whatever.
Mhm.
Guess what happens when Ezra starts making $1 million a year? You know, let's say 10 years from now. Those people aren't going to be necessarily as relatable because they're going to be driving around in fancy cars. They're going to be having multiple houses. They're going to be doing all these other things. And so now that to me, I think is the only reason why you look at NBA, NFL, any others people, and you're like, they're not relatable. Well, they're not relatable just because they have way more money. They're the same, like the personality wise and everything like that. They're going to be the same. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, but I think that's what makes disc golfers relatable is because they're not getting paid yet what they should be getting paid. Hopefully, 5-10 years from now.
Exactly.
I'm tracking with you, and I'm trying to process like why there'd be so much disagreement or any opposition to the idea that the sport should evolve, if you will, and change. And I think there's different goals in people's minds.
Pro
right?
Tour
Okay,
again,
Pro
like
Tour.
not the sport, but
Okay,
the Pro Tour
sure.
continue to evolve.
Right.
Yeah.
So the goal of the
just
evolution.
so people know.
Exactly. And I think that what's happening here is people are right. It is very cool to be able to go walk up to Paul. I can remember during Paul's 45 at Maple Hill, I was there and he was eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on hole 12. And I'm like, hey, man, is that the key to success? Like, literally, I'm just chatting with him. Now, the rest is history. Me and him are best butt. No. But the point is, like, yes, that happened. And I do agree. So the comments and the chats that are coming in.
You can still do that, though.
Yes, you can still have that opportunity for sure.
But you should be behind some sort of boundary.
Yes, sure. Exactly.
Like you
can do that at an NFL game too, right? If you have first row in an NFL game, you can literally yell at a player, or at a baseball game. Heck, you don't even need to be a lot of these baseball games. No one goes to these games. So you could be 30 rows up yelling at the outfielder, and he'll turn around, look at you, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have conversations. Yeah. I'm just saying there should be some sort of thing of where the players don't feel bad or don't necessarily look bad because they're in the zone, or, hey, guess what? I don't want to sign autographs mid-round.
Yes. Yeah. And to be clear, and because I'm taking the moment right now, and I probably don't feel like I have to, but when I went up to Dickerson, because you pointed it out, it was before a skins match early in the morning, as in it wasn't before his round. I was.
it was slightly okay.
I was using you as an example.
I know. So I've been around the sport 13 years now. I've got to meet almost every single and hang out with almost every single top pro. I'm not trying to show my cards here, but my point is I've seen the evolution, and I am one who is saying that for the sport, I say the sport, but I actually believe this in full. I know you say Disc Golf Pro Tour, but I actually believe for the sport, the whole sport to grow and get better for everybody, the top has to do that as well. It has to, because then you're going to create you're going to create the Tiger Woods, the Tom Brady's. I don't care if you don't like Tom Brady. That was my player for a long time. You're going to create all these superstar athletes, LeBrons, who in turn are going to create more fans. And the more fans that get into it, the bigger disc golf can get, which means in your local level, courses will get better. The venues, the atmosphere of big tournaments will get better. Everything. And so like that's the perspective that I'm having when I have this conversation. And again, we don't have to destroy the community at the lower level. That can stay exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm always a fan of the top. What is it? Some people hate this, but it's like one ship rises. What's that saying? Ship rises them all.
I don't know.
Rises the boat rises all the water. Someone in the chat knows what I'm talking about. But essentially, what you're saying is, for the sport really to evolve and really to grow, it has to happen at the highest level. And then when that starts taking off, then one ship's tide rises.
A rising tide lifts all boats.
A rising tide lifts
one
all
boat
boats.
Is not going to lift all the boats, Brodie. Come on.
I knew I was right around it. Okay, rising tide raises all boats or lifts all boats.
Yeah.
The rising tide is the Pro Tour. And you can look at that at any other sport. It's the highest. It's the highest spot of the sport. It's where all the best players play.
Do you know?
What?
I'm assuming you probably heard, and I don't need your opinions on Steve Dodge, but Steve Dodge's vision. This was before there was ever a Disc Golf Pro Tour. Okay, so he was.
I know he did the wrong thing with live.
Yes. Okay.
But I kind of agree with what he wants to do with live. But I think he went about it the wrong way from what I've heard.
Yeah, no, and I've talked to Steve in person. He's a friend of mine. I literally said, I'm going to tell you what I think too. And I told him the same thing. I said, I don't think it was the right way. But his vision for disc golf, the reason why, and I said this on last week's show, anyone that was listening last week will hear a repeat here. The reason why the Pro Tour exists, this was literally the reason and the vision, was to create a platform for the best talented disc golfers, a stage, if you will, for the best disc golfers in the world to perform and get the recognition they deserve. To do that, it takes money. And that's a whole nother picture. But like the point is, that was the purpose for the Pro Tour. And if we're going to make it so it's not a good stage, and some are going to say it's a fine stage, but I think we can make the stage better. And that is what the Disc Golf Pro Tour is doing. Jeff taking over with his team. Todd obviously backing that strongly. I think we're going to continue to see. Is it possible to say, what do you think? Is the Disc Golf Pro Tour going to, and it sounds negative, be able to monopolize disc golf? They are going to be the only real good show in town.
You want me to heat it up?
Yeah.
How hot you want me to come in here?
I feel like
I'm coming real hot right now.
Well, I'm feeling it. I'll let you say it. You know.
You want me to go lava? I'll go lava. All right. And this will be great for a lot of people to hear because I'm sure they'll all want to hear this. Next day coverage is hurting the Pro Tour.
Oh God, you're about to piss off all 10,000 people watching right now. I'm just kidding. We have talked about this.
And
so
you guys
many
might
times.
disagree, so I want to hear why you think it isn't, and I'll tell you why I think it is. Okay. right now, Nick, like how many viewers do you guys have on here?
That's a good question. It's jammed up. I think we have too many. It jammed up.
Hold on.
But what would be your average? What would be your average?
Average, let's say, is 200 to 300. Average.
Right now, there's probably about 400.
Okay, so I hit you up. I hit you up with an email, and I say, hey, I love your guys' podcast. Can you guys do a 30-second sponsor piece where you literally just tell everyone how awesome Brodie Smith is? I just want the most dark horse, whatever. How much money are you charging me?
Brodie, we can start the bidding right now. I mean, I would charge you to start out
$5.
$20 every time we do it.
I'm a sellout.
Okay.
$5.
Okay, I come back to you guys a year later. You're getting 50,000 views. Are you still going to charge me $20?
No.
Nope.
I'm going to go to a higher bidder probably.
Okay. That's the same thing for how sponsorships work for live sports. Okay. So the Disc Golf Pro Tour right now is losing live viewers because there are people out there that do not want to watch the live coverage and they'll just watch the next day coverage, right? There's a massive amounts of people that do that. If Nick and Matt, if we were all together hanging out, let's say me and Nick were hanging out, okay?
Yeah, you can't take away that like celebrity thing for me. We can't do that. You know, we got to keep that celebrity.
Okay. Me and Nick, hold on. You're coming in here in a second.
Okay.
Me and Nick are hanging out. Let's say it's Tuesday. Let's say it's Tuesday morning, and me and Nick are talking about Monday Night Football, the game, whatever game it was that happened the night before. And we're like, dude, did you see that play? And then Matt, you come in and you go, whoa, stop. I haven't recorded. I'm watching it later tonight. No one says, oh, sorry, Matt. That's a reasonable thing. People do that. We're sorry. That doesn't happen in any other sport. No one watches the Super Bowl the next day. And if you do, you're probably in the super minority of people that have an incredible, important job that you couldn't watch it live. And if you have an example of a time where you literally come in and you say, no, don't tell me. I have it recorded. For live sports, I would love to know, because I've never been in a situation where if someone came in that situation, they would be laughed out of the room. Like, what are you talking about? You missed the game?
Yeah.
So,
well, before my point, I just want to say, I forget what tournament it was at, Brodie, but you had the funniest Instagram where you're like, I'm going to go ahead and apologize to everyone for absolutely nothing.
The Conor McGregor?
Yeah. It had me dying. But to my real point, if I can't watch a sport live, 99% of the time I'm on ESPN casually watching the score update. You know, what's going on now? Like, I'm always paying attention, especially if it's something very important to me. Like when we were up in Vermont and Massachusetts, I couldn't watch all the Celtics playoffs games. And I was like religious to watching those. And so if I couldn't watch it, I wasn't like, all right, no one say anything. Like, of course I'm keeping up with it. So I agree with that.
Okay. So a couple more points. First point about I'll get back to the sponsorship. Okay. And again, this is all for why next day coverage is hurting the Pro Tour. Okay. These are all my reasons. If we get
Wait. When you say, can you define that real quick and then finish your point? When you say hurting the Pro Tour, are you talking financially?
Yes.
Okay.
And growth, as far as more people playing and as far as more professional play. Like right now we have we said 30 or 40 pros. Mm-hmm. That number could get to 50, 60, 70 if all these things change. Okay. And I would love to hear your reasons after that why this wouldn't work. Okay. Here we go. So the sponsorship thing right now, they're going around saying, hey, we have 30,000, 40,000 views on YouTube. Okay. If there was no next day coverage and there wasn't a way of watching this and all you could watch it was on YouTube on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, how many people would that be? Would it be 50,000 now? Would it be 70,000? Would there be 100,000 people tuning in live? If that was the only way of watching it, I don't know. But I do know it's more than what it is now. So they would be able to go out and sell their ad space for more, just like you went from $20 to, I don't know, maybe a couple thousand, right? That money that they get they can put a little bit towards the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and then the rest of it goes into the purse. So now you're able to pay out more of the players. So now if you win first place at a Disc Golf Pro Tour event, you're getting $10,000 and not $3,000. Mm-hmm. And if you get second, you're getting $4,000 or $5,000. More guys and girls would be able to go on tour. There'd be more money involved. Mm-hmm. Also, you guys, Matt, you've been in the social media game here a little bit. You understand you want everyone talking at once about something. The more chatter, the more you can get a hashtag trending, the more you can get everyone talking about something right now, the more the algorithm will allow that to grow. So what we're doing right now in disc golf is you have a portion of people that are talking about something live, and then you have a portion of people that are talking about the next day not live. If you took all those people that talked about the next day and you put them all together with the people talking about it live, now you have everyone talking together. The algorithm's going to love that. It's going to spread it out to more people. More people are going to start talking about it. That's more powerful than spreading things out over a long period of time. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing I would say is no other sport lets people come in and take coverage from the players and not pay for it. The reason why the NFL, the NBA, all these teams can pay their players so much money is the TV contracts that they have. Fox and CBS, all these different networks are fighting over being able to show the NFL or how much money they spend to be able to show the Super Bowl, mm-hmm. right? Because they know by them having it on their network, they're going to get a lot of traction for their ads that they can show there. So what's happening right now, and I'll just say dark horse, I'll say the dark horse production, because I won't call out anyone that's doing it right now. The dark horse post-production right now, the Disc Golf Pro Tour, a lot of times is paying the dark horse production to come out and film. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the dark horse production is going out and filming. And then the dark horse production is now going out and having sponsors shown on the video, and all that money and revenue from those sponsors is now going into dark horse production. None of that money is going to the players. So if disc golf turned into every other sport that exists, now dark horse production wants to film, right? If they want to do it this way, Dark Horse Production is now going to have to pay $20,000 to film a Disc Golf Pro Tour event. Mm-hmm. That $20,000, $18,000 of that goes into the purse. $2,000 of it goes to Disc Golf Pro Tour to make the Pro Tour even better. And now I can make my $20,000 back by the ads I run and all the revenue I make off of showing it on my network.
Gotcha. I get what you're saying. I had this conversation with a couple of my buddies a couple of weeks ago, and just saying that, you know, the players, in a sense, when they're on post-round production, they are kind of getting free advertisement for themselves.
Have you talked to a lot of these players about how beneficial it actually is?
I don't think that.
For them?
Yeah, I'm saying these were kind of like the idea points that we were talking about. I haven't talked to a player and said, you know, hey, what's it like being on Dark Horse Productions? Do you feel like you grew social media wise or anything like that just from being on one, you know, round 3 of so-and-so Dark Horse tournament? So I'm not really sure, but that was kind of one of the arguments that people made, is you're kind of like a walking billboard for yourself in a sense when you get put on post-round production. But
so here's the other thought. So I'll first say I think the Disc Golf Pro Tour needs to eventually have everything under its umbrella, and I would love them to be able to hire out a production company that's already doing it, so that they know that they're going to get a good product, so they get more cameras and stuff like that. And then what ends up happening is now Dark Horse Production, instead of Dark Horse Production making a lot of money and none of that money really goes to the players, right? Mm-hmm. Dark Horse Production now has to get creative and come up with cool content that's outside. Because when you really think about it. If I watch Macbeth, Dickerson, Kevin Jones, and Matt Graham, okay, they're on a card. Mm-hmm. How much personality, how much am I really getting of Matt Graham? How much am I really getting to know him from watching a 30-minute video of a couple of his shots?
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you mean.
Am I getting enough to be like, let's say he plays bad, and let's say you shoot +2 and everyone else shoots -10. Am I really after that? Am I going on Instagram being like, I gotta follow this guy? This guy's insane. Am I actually doing that?
Yeah,
a lot of people are they doing that?
That's kind of like in 2018. I won an amateur event and I was able to play in the feature card with Dickerson, Paul, and Wysocki.
Live.
There you go. Did you blow up?
In a bad way. People were like, "Damn, that sucks."
No. No, but I'm saying, did you all of a sudden did your Twitter start taking off?
Heck no.
Did you start getting sponsorship potential deals
from winning the tournament? No, not from being on live coverage. So,
well,
it didn't do much.
What's that?
It didn't do much for you, is what I'm trying to say.
No, it didn't do anything. I mean,
would it have been better if Dark Horse Productions would have come and did a video with you, mic'd you up, talked about your career, talked about where you're from, how you practice, what struggles you've been through, and now all of a sudden you've been relatable. Look at Emerson Keith. Emerson Keith blew up because not just because he did well at Worlds, but because they did that piece about him, about him just having a kid and what it's like being a dad on tour and all that stuff. So I think now if you made it to where all these other, because let's be real, disc golf does not necessarily have the greatest media coverage. Everyone basically does roughly the same thing, which is just showing round coverage. There's not really anyone out there doing stories or doing pieces or doing other things, right?
Recently,
we've recently gotten into CBS that a little bit more. Yes, with the CBS, and I think that was for a special occasion. And I'm sure when the ESPN2 stuff comes out, there will be more.
No, but I'm talking about like we don't have a Barstool Sports.
Right.
Yes.
We don't have a Bleacher Report.
Yep.
We have Ultiworld, that is an ultimate frisbee company that dips their toes into disc golf.
Yes.
But we don't necessarily have anyone out there that is like, hey, I want to make, and I think GK Pro has found a really good niche with their skins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's more beneficial for someone to go on a skins round than it is for them to be on a lead card and not win a tournament.
You got to get that invite.
And especially when I think over the last couple of episodes, they've really just let the guys, like they've shown raw footage of not just them throwing the shots. They kind of show their casual conversations or their, petty little smack talk that they do between each other. And I think that's one of the fun things about the touring disc golfers and the practice rounds is, there's a lot of friends obviously out there, but they do trash talk in a very fun way when you're out for a practice round. I mean, shoot, I trash talk Paul for the heck of it. It doesn't work ever, but it's fun to do.
All right.
So I guess my question to you guys is, what is next day coverage doing? Does next day coverage outweigh all the things I just said advantage wise? Because if the Disc Golf Pro Tour could get 100,000 views Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or let's say Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which in my opinion, they easily could if that was the only way of watching these tournaments, they now can sell ad space for tens of thousands of dollars. So now purses all of a sudden become a lot bigger. One of the reasons why the Disc Golf Tour Championship was so high drama craziness was there was $20,000 on the line. Does that drama and all that stuff exist if the final putt is worth $3,000?
In a sense, right now in disc golf, it does for the select person. Like I would say at Waco, when Colton won his DGPT event down there, I think, that $3,500 that he made is kind of, in a sense,
no, I was talking more for the fans. Sorry. I was talking more for like fans watching.
Gotcha.
I feel like when the money's higher, it's more interesting. But then also I think as a player, if I have that putt to where I know like if I miss this putt, I lose $10,000, that is going to be more pressure on the player than if I miss this putt, I lose $1,000.
Yep. I'll give you kind of my take on this in the sense of this is my opinion. This is how I kind of view the topic of this is I love live coverage and I love post-round production because in disc golf, we're very fortunate to have the kind of post-round production that we do. No other sport really has it the way we do. There are highlight videos on YouTube, or you can go watch like when
Golf has it.
Golf has it, but they have like 5-hour rounds. It's not. Is it edited the way?
No, golf. I can go on and watch every shot from Jordan Spieth. They have it even better because they have it per person.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so I've
because
seen that.
No one. Not to be mean, Nick, but no one wants to watch you blow up on your live on your card, right?
Exactly. So,
right?
Yeah.
And no one wants to watch anyone blow up.
Mhm.
Like that's not fun to watch. And that's why if you watch a golf tournament and someone, let's say Jordan and Tiger are in the lead at the beginning of the round, if Jordan starts blowing up, guess what? You don't see Jordan anymore.
You don't watch those shots anymore.
He's just gone.
Gotcha.
You
Okay.
don't see his shots. So I would just say like golf does have it.
Mhm.
I think football, I think like they have some, but again, it's all under the same umbrella. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. So I think
It's under the PGA Tour umbrella. PGA Tour isn't allowing Matt Graham to go out and film all of Tiger's shots and then post it somewhere on his
channel.
YouTube channel.
Yeah.
They don't know, but I've been out there with my cell phone.
That's funny. That's funny. It's funny you should say it like that because that's how Jomez Pro got started. Is
Yeah.
Jomez went to 2012 Worlds and Schustrick invited him to film the Final 9. And
So-
that technically was the inception of Jomez Productions.
So
But
Yeah, and I think these
Kinda-
companies have really helped. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
All these production companies have really helped grow the sport, and I think they're still going to be very pivotal in growing the sport with the media. I'm not saying they need to go away. I'm saying my idea of if live was the thing and everyone had to tune in to watch live, the sport would grow the Pro Tour would grow way faster, and the players would actually get the money.
Mhm.
And that's what really needs to happen is the players need to get the money. You're not going to have these, Ezra is a special breed. You're not going to have people living out of their car playing Pro Tour events. Do you guys know who Proctor is? James Proctor?
Yes.
Yeah, he's filthy.
You know who he is?
Yeah.
Yeah. He would probably be one of the best disc golfers in the world.
Yeah.
But do you know why he doesn't tour?
There's not enough money in it.
There's not enough money.
Well, that's what Chris
Do these
Dickerson.
production companies make it to where James Proctor can tour? No.
At the moment, no, exactly. And that's what Dickerson was just saying on why he doesn't go out to the West Coast. He said financially, I'd have to get top 5 at every single event to go out there to make it worthwhile. I'd rather just play an A tier or a B tier locally and make the same, if not even more money.
Yeah. If I just made a dark horse tournament and I said the winner is getting $50,000 and then second place, third place, fourth place, fifth place, sixth place, whatever.
Mhm.
Does it even matter what course it's at? Or is literally every good player going to show up?
Yeah. Can I say just for drop the mic.
So what I'm trying to say is like, what is the argument to keep post-production?
Okay, so I've been listening, people usually roast me for cutting everybody off. I've been listening now pretty good. I've tried to interject here and there, but I wanted to listen and take it all in. There's so many topics. So I think I'll just kind of consolidate it by saying, Brodie, believe it or not, because you didn't know my opinion on this. First of all, you and me are very similar in how we share our opinions. We say them, we tend to say a little bit over the top. Not necessarily that we say it's the right way, but we're saying like, hey, let's give it a try. And I'm willing to always say, let's try it to the max and see what happens, because we can always go back. That's just who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel very similar. When I'm hearing you, I'm going, I don't really need to say anything because he's saying it for me. My wife often is like, Matt, calm down. You don't need to say it that way. People are going to think you're crazy. And I'm like, no, it's just, it's worth trying. So first of all, I relate to you in that. Second of all, I do think people that are shouting money is the root of all evil, blah, 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 all this stuff. Okay. Yes. Money.
It's these people's jobs.
Yes. So exactly. So we're not talking.
How would they like it if I came to their job and I said, you know what, you're actually making $50,000? That's too much. You're going to start making.
We want the people. Yeah, we want the people that watch you doing your job to not have to pay as much to watch you do exactly. So
it would be free.
Yeah.
There would be no disc golf There would be no Disc Golf Pro Tour Network buy-in. It would be free because they would want as many people to watch as possible. Mm-hmm. To make the views higher so they can sell their ad space for even more.
One of the things that's coming up in the chat right now is disc golf companies not paying the players as they should be being paid. That's a whole different rabbit hole.
We actually have a topic.
Manufacturers aren't paying the players either.
We get that. I think all three of us can 100% agree on that.
Yeah.
So let me finish this out. So the idea that next day coverage, I don't feel like I have to do disclaimers, but like the Jomez Pro dudes, they're my friends. They actually, during their first year of touring, stayed in the studio area for like 2 solid weeks. It was awesome, right? So there's no doubt, and I know you said this, Brodie, there is no doubt that they helped get this to where it is.
100%.
Unfortunately, and this is the way it is in the construction industry where I am, you work yourself out of a job. It's almost like they've grown the sport so large to where they're the largest solely disc golf channel on YouTube right now, the largest. But at the same time, that it's growing so big that it's almost like it's quote unquote wasn't their sport. Like it's their sport that they filmed. And again, Jonathan, he was in here earlier in the chats. Literally, I support your business. I think what you're doing is awesome. I hope there's a way that this can continue to morph and evolve to where
they'll probably try to start their own tour.
Well, that's what they talked about.
Said that, yeah.
They actually talked about that because then it's theirs.
But the thing is, if they start, it's theirs, and then they have to figure out a way of how they get the money.
Yeah.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, there is no professional sport out there where the people filming the athletes aren't paying in some way the athletes.
I agree. So their answer to us, if people want to go back, I'm not going to reiterate the whole thing. We had them on a show. It was, I don't know, 2 hours long.
Wait, so you got to tell me why next day coverage is actually good.
Yeah. So
that's, I want to hear the argument.
No, there's actually, okay. So why next day coverage is good. It would be
the Pro Tour.
Yes,
for the Pro Tour.
It would be me actually
players.
playing devil's advocate. Cause in a lot of ways, and this was my point, I actually agree with you, but I think their argument, and again, the devil's advocate argument or the whatever, the with them argument is the idea that disc golf is unique, which I found intriguing to say the least. Was okay. It's true. No one's ever done this sport and seen it grow this way, but we can look at other models. Number two, I think that the free coverage is at this point perpetuating. And as we see it, they have 250,000 followers right now and they're continuing to grow rapidly. It's perpetuating at least the interest. The people who are going out there right now are able to find it easier access. And that was actually the reason why when we talked about having pay to play courses, this is a whole nother topic we had, increasing pay to play courses so that the sport gets better on these courses. People said the accessibility of a free course is so high that more people are coming to the sport because of that. Now, I know it's a different topic, but the point is, I think there is something to be said about the free access right now. Now, if I'm going to say now what I actually think, and here I'll say what my point is, I think paying $4 or $8 a month, and I know there are some people out there who literally can't scrape that. I feel for them, but that is not very much to watch live coverage sports, and I pay it happily. So I actually would agree with you, at least push back the next day coverage, at least push it back a week or 2 weeks, and then Yep.
Well, I was just gonna say an easy fix for the Pro Tour is literally they could just have it set up where it's free to watch, everything's free, and then if they still wanted to have something paywalled, they could have special stuff additionally behind the paywall.
True.
But it's just I don't know.
No,
I don't know a business out there that operates the way that disc golf does, and the notion of that it's unique. I don't think that works because the players are getting underpaid.
Yeah. Well, it's on its way up. It's on its way up. And to your point earlier, the disc golf
Pro Tour.
Tour,
companies are making money off the players, and the players aren't seeing any of it.
To your point earlier, though, the disc golf Pro Tour is on a track, and I'm not going to call him dumb or smart, but Jeff Spring is obviously, he has to be. He's the CEO of the tour. He has to be pretty keen to all this idea because he knows just like what you're saying, because it's not bad math. It's not bad business. He knows that this break or evolution, this is going to have
evolution.
Yep, it's going to have to happen. He has to know that. And if we could call him up right now, do you know this is going to have to happen? He would be pretty political, I think, and say like, you tiptoe around it because he has to right now. But I do think it's going to happen. A lot of your reasoning, I agree with. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow. I do think we'll see some changes next year. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And again, like this, my last point is just like, because all the people that are talking right now are clearly probably fans. I don't know if there's any pros any of the top 30 pros in the chat, but I'm guessing all the people talking right now are fans. And whether you like it or not, let's say you don't like it, for whatever reason you do, fans at the end of the day want to watch good disc golf, right? Like that's the key. They're not going to watch Jomez if none of the 4 players that are featured on Joe. I mean, you just look at the numbers. You can go on Jomez and you can find a tournament where there's no big names that they filmed, and the views are way lower than if there's a big name on there, right? The idea of players getting more money is going to be 2 things. One, people would take it more seriously at the top already, right? The Paul Macbeths, the Chris Dickersons, all these guys. Now maybe they make enough money to where now they can hire a trainer. So now they're working out. Maybe they hire a masseuse. So when they go to tournaments, they have their personal masseuse there. It's going to make those guys better. So we're going to be able to watch better disc golf. But ultimately, it's going to be able to make it to where the guys that are anywhere, the James Proctors and those type of people that can't go on tour right now because they have a normal paying job and they're not willing to get rid of that because they don't think they can make enough money on tour. We now get to see the James Proctors because he knows if he just goes out and wins one tour event in the season and then cashes a couple here and there, he makes just as much as whatever job he has now. So and then at the end of the day, that's better for the fans. We're going to see better disc golf. We're going to see better disc golf.
People right now, and I don't necessarily blame them. They're tied up in the hardship, if you will, of breaking away from relationships of the community that have been built. However, it's going to have to happen.
That doesn't go away, but that doesn't go away.
Well, when I say community,
what community goes away though?
I was just going to say the community I'm talking about is the ability that they feel to connect with the Jomez crew. It's a whole different story. Like, what other place do you actually connect with a crew who's producing it? That's a whole nother topic.
Name another production crew that exists.
Exactly.
That's in a different.
So
I've heard that.
It is
argument a
unique
lot.
in that sense.
Yeah.
It is unique in that sense. But let me also say, I thought your point was actually pretty good just a second ago. There a lot of good ones, but where you said, let's make it free. So we don't even have to make this about money. Let's just go live. The whole portal is through the live production. You can go rewatch the live, or what they used to call, right, when Smashbox did it, smash cuts. Like, so later on, the next day or whatever, you could watch it condensed if you want to. But like, that's the only portal to watch it. Where else do we not see that in sports? It's everywhere in sports right now. You can only go watch it through one avenue. That's it. You don't have your options of like, oh, I'd rather go support this broadcast company or this one. Like, we do that with news, but then you get all different news.
Well, I think we're finally starting to get to a point where there's like Hulu TV, YouTube TV, and everything like that. And one of the big arguments that a lot of people are saying right now is, I don't have cable anymore. All the youngsters don't have cable.
Neither do I.
We don't watch live disc golf right now on cable. 99% of the people watching live disc, I would say actually 100% of the people watching live disc golf are watching it on YouTube.
Well, you would still be able to watch it
or
on
the Disc Golf Network. Yes, or the Disc Golf
free.
Network. Yeah, sorry.
You could either go YouTube or Disc Golf Network.
Yeah.
So and let's say it does get on TV. Let's say ESPN2 says, "Hey, we want to start doing more of it." It would be on ESPN2, or I guess you could even watch it on ESPN2's app, but you could also again watch it on the Disc Golf Network.
Exactly.
You don't necessarily have to have cable.
We're not telling people to pay $33 a month for cable. That's not the sake of the argument right now. We're talking about how now we are spreading disc golf in, I think, too many areas technically. Like, it's just being, when it should be consolidated, like Brodie's talking about, everything under one umbrella, which I don't think is a bad idea.
Take our ideas, everybody. I don't want to say with a grain of salt. I don't
take our ideas, Disc Golf Pro Tour, make it happen for 2021.
I don't want to say take our ideas with a grain of salt, but we are throwing ideas out there, and honestly, it is causing a ruckus in the chat, which is awesome because we're talking things disc golf. Now, I don't think there's an answer to it. That being said,
there is an answer.
Yes. Well, I was gonna say there were a lot of answers tonight.
Yeah.
But to how to actually make it happen right now, and I already said this, Jeff Spring.
Oh, it's very easy.
Jeff Spring already knows what's coming down the pipe. I'm just saying, like, he knows.
What would happen here? Theoretical question. Okay. The All-Star weekend's coming up, right? Top 8 players, top 8 women, top 8 men.
Yep.
Right? What if they came to Disc Golf Network or Disc Golf Pro Tour and they're like, hey, listen, we're not going to be playing at any events where people can come in and film us for free.
Right. Yeah, they could. That's what I was talking about earlier. Player association. Or
What happens?
The tour slowly dies out in a sense, at least for. I mean, if you're taking the top 8 players in the world from each MPO and FPO field, I mean, realistically, in a sense, your FPO field completely dies out. Your MPO field takes a really hard hit to where now tons of people aren't watching the Disc Golf Pro Tour because they want to know, okay, Paul's not playing the Pro Tour anymore. That means he's only playing National Tour. That means I'm only going to watch 4 events this year, only the National Tour events that he goes to. So yeah, the Disc Golf Pro Tour takes a massive hit from that.
Yeah.
And this idea of like people saying like I'm trying to monetize and blah blah. Yeah. What the heck? I'm trying to make it to where people that are good at something actually can do it for a living.
Mm-hmm.
Like every other sport. This whole notion of like, oh, you can't make too much money. That is so silly to me. What these people that make these comments, I want to know, like, if their boss, and I'm just getting on my high horse, if their boss came into them and like, hey, listen, you've been working really hard and doing great, we're going to give you a raise.
Mm-hmm.
Are these people saying no? I make too much money? No.
Heck no.
It's just crazy to me. And it's not even coming out of your pocket. It's not your money. Like the money is going to be coming from sponsors. That's the whole idea. I'm not asking you to pay the players more. All I'm trying to say is it's sad at the end of the day to have to look at these guys that are doing a really good job and they're not able to make a living.
Yeah, I think
it's weird because
and other people are doing amazing.
Yeah, we're always
off of these players.
We're always
making tons and tons of thousands of dollars off these players, and these players aren't making any of it.
Yeah, we like a lot of casual people will talk about, disc golfers aren't making as much money as they should, and then we bring up these ideas where disc golfers can potentially make more money, and then they're calling people greedy. And now disc golfers are only playing the sport for money. But like Brodie said, this is their
your job.
This is their job. Like this is what they are doing to make a living. And I would say if there's 500 people in the chat right now, 490 of them are probably saying, damn, I really wish that I could make disc golf a full-time career for me. The only way you can do that is to actually make it to, obviously you got to be good at disc golf. And then 2, you need to be able to make money at those tournaments. We're only talking about a sport that has how many PDGA members in it right now and how many people go to these big events. We're talking about 30 of them, maybe 40, who can consistently actually go out on the road and tour. And those bottom 20 through 40 people are living in minivans, Priuses, stuff like that.
I mean, look what's happening to the NCAA, right? College players are now being like, you guys are making millions of dollars
video
off
games.
of us.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars off of us. And I might blow out my ACL and never be able to be a professional at my sport. Like I'm for NCAA players making money,
So
why not?
Especially if they're going to have a video game and they're going to be players in that video game. Why are they not, or if they, why can't they sign a shoe deal?
Okay, so I don't know what Birdie Disc Golf gave them, but we have players now in the game of Birdie Disc Golf.
Yeah.
Dude,
Birdie Disc Golf's fire.
It's awesome. I got the expansion pack coming.
Birdie.
Shout out to Steve Dodge. So, yeah. Well, back in the day, off topic. Back in the day, Steve Dodge, this is history. I think Steve Dodge was the first disc golf video production company ever. He would walk around a course with his handy cam when they did the Marshall Street Disc Golf Championship. He would edit it together on his iMac. And then every time they would throw a birdie, he'd say it. He'd go, birdie. And then every time they'd hit a tree, he'd be like, WW Smackdown or something. Like he did his own commentary. It was really cool. I'm going to wrap up this conversation because we could literally go on and on. I think people are afraid, and that is not a diss.
Yeah, I can come on a different time too. I kind of just came on Dark Horse.
we will have you on.
We'll plan it out next time.
We will have you on a different time.
You know me. I have tons and tons of other ideas.
Yes, we will have you on another time. We'd like to get to know Brodie, the player, as well. So, but here's the wrap up. I think people are afraid, and that is not a diss on them. Like, I'm not saying that in a dissful way. I'm saying that's where this is coming from. Fear of saying, I don't know what the future would look like if what I love right now, is to change, that might affect what I love about it. And so there's this fear element. I understand that. I think, though, that the conversations that we're having should not be fearful. the conversations we're having should be applauded, because we need conversations about how to continue. What if we could make it better? The thing that you love, what if it was to be better? And you don't know what that better is. You do not know because it's not there. But what if I was to tell you, like, it would be better? Then all of a sudden, if I could promise that, people would be down for it. Now, I can't promise that, so people aren't down for it. But we can say, look, this is what Brodie's doing. He's saying, look at everything else out there, how they're doing it. And that's the points he's bringing. I think they're valid and at least worth considering. He brings a voice to this. I don't care how new he is to it. And that's kind of my wrap up on it, is like, let's have this conversation again another time. Let's keep having the conversation.
I kind of want to go into it again really quick, and I just want to say this.
I have one more thing to say after you, Nick.
So people are
for
talking
people
about,
to sleep on.
We need to build an economy around the sport, and shutting out the fans isn't the way to do it. We're not talking about shutting out the fans. What Brodie and all of us have been saying this whole time is we're trying to create the disc golf network and to kind of be the monopoly of everything disc golf in a sense. We're talking about free coverage for everyone, because when you have that many people, you don't need to charge them. We're talking about filming crews paying to actually film the players and film these events. We're not talking about, hey, we're going to take the disc golf network and make it $30 a month for people to watch live coverage. Like, that's not at all what we are talking about. And I don't know why.
Yeah, the USDGC thing was terrible. What the heck? I shouldn't have to pay to watch a major. Get out of here.
Exactly. I agree with that. We're in different spots in disc golf right now to where people are trying different things. People are trying different ideas to what they think can potentially grow the sport. And I think that is part of the process of growing pains at the moment. We are a sport that is evolving still. And like I said before, we're trying to evolve mostly the pro level of this sport. We want to see players not just be disc golf rich. I would like to see more players be able to go out and buy the things that they really love, or to not have to live and tour in an RV. There's not a single PGA player. I think there was one a couple years ago, and then he wins one event, and now he can completely flip his life around.
Oh, his life has changed.
Yeah, exactly. Just from winning one event. So like Colton Montgomery at Waco, if he wins that and we had the money that golf does, he goes from touring around in his van into, you know what, screw it. I'm going to fly to the rest of the events this year because I've earned that money and I can do that now. We're talking about trying to grow the sport at the professional level at the most part. We do want to see, obviously, the communities and the people, the fans of disc golf are incredible. They are the ones who also, they support the pros with the disc sales. They support them just by watching the videos and everything like that. But it's a podcast. We are trying to just spit ideas at each other. And
someone said I want fans to pay more. I want you guys to pay less.
We don't want you guys to pay. That's what we're saying.
I want it to be free.
Yeah.
What the heck?
What the heck?
Did you have anything else, Nick?
Nah, go ahead.
Okay. So my last thing is, if you think that disc golf is where it is solely because of these production companies, you're insane. These production companies do not exist if the players don't exist. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. If the top 20 MPO players and the top 20 FPO players, for whatever reason, don't decide to show up at a disc golf pro tour event that's being filmed by all these production companies, those production companies will take a hit. Not as many people would watch their videos. The players need to get paid.
Yeah.
If people are making money off of the players need to get paid. And that's not what's happening right now. Production companies are making tons and tons of money off of these players' names, and the players aren't getting paid. Mm-hmm. The second thing I'll say, and I'll leave it at that, is how crazy would it be? Again, disc golf isn't golf. I get it. But I'll just throw this one out there. How crazy would it be if Innova was able to go to Paul and say, Paul, we want you to putt with, what did he putt with, an AVR?
Yeah,
he putt with an AVR?
McPro AVRs.
Okay. We're like, Paul, we want you to putt with the McPro AVR next year. Can you do it for $100K? And he's like, yeah, I can do that.
Right. So,
yeah,
I guess
that doesn't exist right now. Mm-hmm. Right now, if you get sponsored by a manufacturer, You put their name on your shirt. You throw every single disc. You do everything with that manufacturer. If you look at golf, there's very few golfers, and if they do sign a 13 club deal, if you do sign and I'm not talking about Drew Gibson model, no. If you do sign a 13 club deal where every club in your bag is tailor-made, that's unique. Most people sign 9 club deals, and they'll have woods and irons with with one manufacturer, and that's their main manufacturer. So if it's tailor-made, they would have all tailor-made woods, drivers, all tailor-made irons, and then they would have a tailor-made bag. And then they can go out and Titleist, they can do Vokey wedges and get money. They could putt with a Scotty Cameron and get money. Mm-hmm. Now you have people fighting for more spots in your bag. More money for the player.
Okay. We're on the same page here. Yeah. I'm tracking. I've said it.
I want to say something really quick. Someone had wrote Paul wouldn't have the contract that he does without post-round production. And I just want to say 99% of that statement is false. Paul wouldn't have the contract that he has right now without 5 world titles.
Oh.
So that's mostly what got him a fat contract and two USDGC titles. Post-round production, obviously, in some sort of sense, helped him out a little bit. But a lot of what Paul has done for the sport has more so helped out post-round production.
So, all right. Well, let me just ask your audience real quick a question.
Yep.
Unless you guys have to go.
No,
real quick. Can you pull up the chat real quick?
I can pull up a portion of it.
Hopefully everyone answers this properly.
I can pull up a portion of it here. You'll see like 3 in a row. Yeah.
That's fine. All right. Just type yes. Or it's a yes or no question. Type yes or type no. Do you know who Austin Hannum is?
It's going to take about 10 seconds, so.
There's a little delay. That's fine. But I just want to know how many people know who Austin Hannum is. And if you don't, just say no. That's fine.
Okay. A lot of yeses.
Yeah, you can see more than me. So let me know how many no's compared to yeses there are.
I feel like I saw Eagle.
It's going super fast. Thank you for the engagement, Brodie. It's like 80 million. There's a few no's, but probably 100 yeses.
So percentage-wise, maybe like 95%, maybe even higher?
Yeah, probably higher than that.
Okay. So the point right now is when you get to a certain level in disc golf, going on these production, like getting on coverage and stuff, doesn't really do anything for you. Everyone knows who Austin Hannum is. So if they wanted to follow Austin Hannum, they would already make that decision now, right? Him getting on post-production doesn't really necessarily help him as much as like a newer player might. A newer player, it might help them get their name out there a little bit more.
Yeah.
But the problem is at a certain level, it doesn't help. Paul going on Central Coast or GK Pro or Joe, anything, that doesn't do anything really for Paul in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Most of the time when post-round production has feature cards, it's more often than not players that they picked to help grow their channel.
Exactly. It's not really helping.
When they have Paul on the channel,
players.
It's to help their channel. Paul has created more so than that, and I'm going to argue with one of the guys who's in our chat right now.
This is getting carried away.
So that's my whole point. Is like it helps to a certain point, but again, if there was live coverage, they wouldn't need post production. People saying Kyle Klein, I would know who Kyle Klein is with live coverage at watching him at Maple Hill. Mm-hmm. I would know who Kyle Klein is. I don't need post production coverage to know who Kyle Klein is. So again, it only helps you for like the newer players. And like you were saying, Nick, when they do feature cards, they're literally picking who they think is going to help them get the most views. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
there's a lot of
doesn't help the players, and the players need to get paid more money.
I never knew Ezra. I knew Ezra before I saw him on any post-round production stuff. If companies I knew him from OTB sponsorships and OTB posts and stuff like that. I knew Kyle Klein. I played a tournament with him last year, but I knew him as a Discmania kid. He was kind of an up-and-comer. Alden Harris, Prodigy kid. Matt knows him. That was before. We don't know them from post-round production. More often than not, players from their sponsorships, and their sponsorships promoting that player. I know that Adam Hammis throws and has a Tour Series Wasp because Discraft has promoted, that he throws a Wasp. It's not from watching and being like, oh, I wonder if Ian Anderson got that disc correct on that one.
Yeah. So if you hate me because I'm trying to get players more money and you're like, oh, Brodie's greedy, he wants to get more money for himself. Guess what? You can't have it both. You say I suck and I can't cash at tournaments. So you can't say that I want to try to get more money for myself and say that I suck.
I agree.
And I'm not going to cash at a tournament. I'm trying to give it more money for the best players.
Brodie.
That's all I'm trying to do.
I'm sorry.
You can't say both things. It doesn't work that way.
I'm sorry that you had to say that because that's exactly what I've been thinking this whole time is I'm like, how would it sound? Okay. This is a work with me here. Everyone else say yes or no. No, I'm kidding. So here's how it works. How would you feel? How would you feel if Paul Macbeth came out in the same way and said, we're not making enough money, pound, pound, pound? You know how many people would roast Paul because they'd say, you are a ungrateful son of a gun who you're making more money than anybody and you're still complaining. Like, he could do that. And I think it's possible he could demand that for everybody else. But like,
yeah, but he's saying everyone needs to be making more money.
I guess
it'd be one thing if he was like, I need to be making more money. It'd be a different thing if he said the purses at these tournaments need to be bigger.
Exactly. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that's what you're saying. That's what I'm saying a lot of the similar things here. I think it will take disc golf where it needs to be. I do appreciate, by the way, we do have friends in here.
Kyle Moriarty.
We have friends, as in people are actually saying like, this is great. This is not an either or. This is not that. All these different comments in here.
Yeah. Spoiler: a lot of people actually agree. They just don't want to come out because if they come out and say something, they get mobbed attacked.
Yeah.
But that's how social media is nowadays.
So,
but yeah, I just want to get that off my chest because I think it's insane when people are like, Brodie's greedy. He's just trying to change the sport to help him. And then they also say that I suck and I can't do anything. Both those things, those don't add up. I'm trying to make the sport harder to help myself get better, but then I suck at this. How does that make any sense?
Everybody, spread a little love. Spread a little love.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Some of these people that just make these comments, I can just laugh at.
No.
Their logic makes no sense.
Brodie.
So this was one of the topics that we were going to come up with earlier was, what players are going where. I don't want to get into that subject now, but obviously we were talking about what players in the offseason are going to go where. And I love hearing and I love seeing all of the comments of people thinking where other people are going to go. And it's
Can we just read our list? Read the list.
Hold on. But I want to kind of get back to, we were talking about that. And then Paul posted this thing on Instagram the other day and it's, this, making moves with Discraft or yada, yada, yada. And everyone's like, oh, dude, he signed like a $10 million deal with Adidas. And I'm like, where the hell do you guys get all these ideas from? And it's kind of like, if you're not in the know, you have no idea what you're talking about in a sense. And just seeing the crazy conspiracy theories are great, but we're trying to better. And this is a podcast. We're having discussions. We want to have fun with it. And, but we're trying to better certain aspects of the sport. And we're talking about areas that we think personally are hindering certain parts of the sport.
Man,
that's what we're getting at right now.
Nick, tell someone you love them. No,
dude,
the chat makes this show go longer, and people listening in their cars right now either are loving it or they're like, "Whoa, this is a long rant session." So that's fine, but that's good. But can we just read our list and stay on, or if you want to go, you can go.
Yeah, let's hit me, and then I gotta get some food real fast.
All right, so we're just gonna read our list, and then you can take off. We think that there's rumor out there Calvin Heimberg's moving. He's with Innova right now, and he's been playing extremely well. Possibly was Player of the Year.
I'll keep a straight face because I know a lot, but I won't say anything.
Oh, snap. Yeah. So that means he knows what we know.
Yeah, exactly. If you're in the know, you're in the know.
You're in the know. So, Calvin, Drew Gibson. Drew Gibson, by the way, left Innova 2 years ago, went to Infinite as a open bag player. Probably, he's a good enough player, I think, to make a decent sponsorship. I don't know why he took Infinite last year. Not saying they're bad.
I think having a mixed bag can definitely help. We were talking about earlier, having a disc type.
So then why isn't he going to stay there?
He might.
No, he's moving.
Who knows?
I got him to give me a peace finger today when I asked who was moving.
Money.
So he's moving.
Money.
James Conrad, his contract ends 2020, which is this year. And is he getting compensated what he wants to get compensated for how well he's doing?
He's on the star team now, right?
He is on the star team.
Decent compensation right there. I'm sure he'll probably try to negotiate a contract.
Okay. Kyle Klein. This is his
potential upgrade on Discmania.
Yeah, we're
I
not
would say.
necessarily talking about leaving the sponsors, but
Mhm.
upgrade. Kyle Klein, I think he demonstrated multiple lead card rounds, and I don't know what he's getting compensated right now with Discmania, but I have Ezra Adderhold, obviously.
This was a huge one. I think Ezra Adderhold is probably the biggest talk in the free agency because he's an OTB, same thing, kind of like Infinite. He's an OTB sponsored player that throws a mixed bag, and I honestly, from seeing him play and seeing kind of the athleticism and the potential that he has, I think any company would be fortunate to pick him up. I honestly, everyone's saying Discmania, but
Yeah.
who else does Latitude have right now?
Yeah.
Emerson Keith,
Emerson.
Johnny McRae, and who else?
By
Who
the
knows?
way, I thought about Emerson Keith as being a possibility of moving, but Emerson's contract, I think he's
Yeah.
pretty a straight guy. He's going to stick with
Yeah.
his
Dude,
contract.
they
till
gave
it
him an
ends.
RV,
Okay.
like a motorhome.
This is kind of, I'm going to use the phrase dark horse. Nate Perkins. So, Brodie, you were just hanging out with him, and I'm thinking, Brodie, I saw your social media, I think. That's where it was. Brodie, Nate Perkins, Discmania, obviously. Brodie, Discraft, Paige, Discraft. Nate Perkins hangs out with Paige a lot, and that's all Discraft stuff, and his contract ends this year. Now, that is a far shot in the dark. I don't think it's happening. He has too much going on where he actually has, the nice tour discs and all that stuff. But
I was going to say, he's got a tour disc.
his contract ends.
I think one of the tough things with Discmania right now is you have kind of like Crush Boys. You got Eagle and you got Simon. Those are the two faces of Discmania. But then you got the Colton Montgomery and the Nate Perkins, who have the Lone Howl and the FD. I forget the name of it, but he might be content.
All right, so finish out the list here. Let Brodie get his dinner. He can leave whenever he wants.
Eagle McMahon with Discmania through 2020.
That's when. Wait, Eagles. It runs out 2020. We're gonna see some big upgrade, or just the same. What do you think? 3 years? 5 years? We're gonna hear something. We're gonna hear something.
5 is a lot. I don't know.
He had good finishes this year.
He did, but I'm saying 5 years. Like, that's a big contract. I don't know. I think 3 years. I think 3 is a safe bet.
Barsby. He was a world champion. He got bumped up to the star team. I think it was kind of not, I don't want to say awkward, but he wasn't on the star team. He won worlds, and they're like, we got to put him on the star team.
Well,
now he's kind of like been kind of around, but ghosting the feature leads, all that. Like, we haven't really seen him.
Originally, that was the way to get on star team, was to have a world championship.
Okay. Interesting.
That was like way back in the day.
You knew something I didn't.
Thomas Gilbert, and of a crew team, I think he will jump up potentially to
crew team, dude.
Yeah,
Thomas Gilbert, crew
so he's
team.
Just a casual Innova sponsored player.
That's crazy to me.
What's their second level? Team champion? Or champion?
So there's a sponsor level. It's called sponsor. Yeah. Then there's crew level maybe, and then there's champion, and then there's star.
So I think he'll probably jump up to champion.
Okay. And then the only FPO that I thought might have a chance, and I don't think it's going to happen. All the other FPO that I'm thinking of wouldn't change. Would be Ellen Widboom, possibly. I don't know if they'd upgrade her to star. She's on champion right now. She had a win this year, some close finishes. Why? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because if you look at the FPO sponsored players at Innova, there's players that Ellen Widboom should be beating out, and she's not on the star team. So I'm kind of confused there, but that might happen.
Yep.
So that was our picks. You know something we don't know, Brodie? You know anything else? You hear any big rumors? You going to Innova? What are you doing?
He's on Uber Eats right now.
Are you going mixed bag? Mixed bag?
No,
You're going to play Foundation?
I won't say anything like that because I don't want to get anyone in trouble. But I'll say a couple more hot topics that you guys can discuss why I leave, or you can discuss for another day.
Okay.
First one being, one of them big issues right now is some players don't know their value of what they're worth, and some players don't care. And I'll relate that to social media. So let's say, Nick, you have 50,000, or let's say you have 100,000 Instagram followers, and I have 50,000, and we're friends, right? And let's say I have Beats right here. So Beats hits you up and says, Nick, we want to send you Beats headsets for free if you post it on your Instagram story. And you're like, sick, I'll do it, right? Now Beats comes to me and says, hey, we want to send you a free headset if you post it on your story. And I'm like, no, that's going to cost like $2,000. They're not going to pay me $2,000 because they just got you for free.
Yeah.
Now, if Beats came to you initially and you said that's going to be $4,000, and then they came to me and I said that's $2,000, now Beats is in a situation of, do they want to do 2,000 for 50K, or do they want to do 100,000 for 4K?
Yeah.
or 4,000 for 100K, right? They can either pay both of us, they can pay one of us, they don't have to pay either of us. But regardless, we're not selling ourselves short. So right now what's happening is a lot of players are selling themselves short. And this whole greedy thing, you guys.
I'm over here laughing.
I hope these are teenagers and don't actually have real jobs.
I know, right?
Because if you actually have a real job, you're probably getting underpaid too. Hey, you're gonna have to come in and work overtime, but we're not gonna pay you overtime. Yes, sir. Yes, I'll come in and do overtime. I will. Yes,
I'll be there Saturday
master.
and Sunday. Yeah.
What world are you guys living in? So that right now, that's hurting people because manufacturers know they're basically getting a lot of people for undervalue what they are valued. And that's one thing. The second thing too is I don't think sponsorship deals should happen where players only really get money when their discs sell. So
we're talking more salaries.
If someone comes to me and says, hey, Brodie, we want to do a deal with you and we're going to give you a link. And every time someone clicks that special link and buys something from our website, we will pay you a little kickback from that.
So you like that idea?
No, I'd never do deals like that because there's going to be times where I do a sponsored video. Okay. Let's say I do a Gatorade video and I say, hey guys, click the link down below. It'll give you 20% off Gatorade. There's going to be times where, yes, some people will click that link and go buy Gatorade. There will also be times where people will just 2 days later be out and they'll see a Gatorade and they'll be like, oh, Brodie did a video with Gatorade. That was cool. I'm going to buy that. I don't get any of that money. That's not really how any advertising works. If you put an ad on TV, no television network would agree to like only click-through rates, right? McDonald's says, hey, we want to run an ad on whatever, but we only want to pay for the people that actually click on this link and buy McDonald's right now.
Yep.
No one would do that deal. And that's kind of what disc golf is right now is, hey, I will wear your stuff and throw your discs and do everything for you, but I'm only going to get paid when someone buys my specific disc that, oh, by the way, there's another disc out there that does exactly the same thing and it's cheaper.
I hear you. And I think
go get your dinner. We'll talk about it.
No, I really quick before we leave, I just want to say this. So,
but yeah, I'm sorry.
Jeremy Rusko from the CEO of DD had just talked about how they had exponential growth this year, like 100% growth that they did not expect came about.
Oh yeah.
I hope Drew Gibson wanted to do a video on what every player makes, salaries and everything like that. But every single company is having their players, for the most part, sign NDAs so they can't talk about how much they make. I hope that if you are a DD sponsored player and you did better this year than you did last year, when Jeremy Rusko said, hey, we had 100% growth this year through everything, we're already trying to get a bigger warehouse, I hope that you are going to them and saying, hey, I just had an incredible year this year. I want to upgrade my salary, or I want to get into a salary mode. Like, those are kind of things that you need to look at and say, now it's the time, now it's contract year.
Where has this been all 24 episodes, this hot, like, man?
All right. I'm bouncing out. Last thing I will say, you can say whatever you want from me, but I created a business by throwing a piece of plastic, so you can all suck it. All right.
Take it easy, Brodie.
I'm out.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you for everyone that. Hey, also, you guys keep doing what you're doing because you're one of the few podcasts out there that I think is actually putting really, really good content out. So I appreciate what you guys do.
Heck yeah.
We're going to clip that little piece out right there, and we're just going to promote the crap out of that.
All right, we'll see you later, Brodie.
I got to eat. I got to try to break 1,000 tomorrow at VPO.
I'll see you guys later.
Peace, body. Adios. All right, guys. Brodie, Smith, everybody.
Okay.
Jumping in the show. This might be the shortest show we've ever done.
Probably definitely the shortest show. And guess what? I have to be up in, 10:30 right now?
No, don't be talking about that. Don't be
5 hours?
No, don't be talking about that.
I'm going to keep going right now.
Don't be talking about that. So, let me see here. We had a lot. I'm like stuttering here. So then all of our viewer counts drop. Because here's the interesting thing. And let me say this. I do not think I will ever speak poorly or with intention of speaking poorly about any of our fans, followers, subscribers. I want to say that I value everybody's opinion. I would love to see it with respect. I would love to see it with good intention, or hear it that way and read it that way. And I hope you can do the same for us. We literally exist. This is what sports radio is about. Now, we are not sports radio. I don't want to build ourselves up too much, but this is literally what it's about. Talking, getting people talking, and continuing the journey of whatever sport it is that we're a part of.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And
I think we can, and I've said this probably. What episode are we on? 24?
24.
So I've probably said this for 23 weeks of us doing this. Is I love reading the chat. And tonight, dude, our chat hit over 1,000 comments. It's probably
no, it did not.
Yeah, and we got a badge saying it hit over 1,000 comments.
That's probably our first.
Oh, that's 100% our first one.
And we're like averaging like 500 between.
We got to make sure that we're respectful with it, though.
Yeah,
it comes to a point to where it kind of can get out of hand, especially as channels grow and everything like that. The chat grows, and I just want to make sure that
don't make us not read it.
No, yeah, exactly. I don't
just stop reading
I like
it.
reading it, and sometimes Brodie could be saying something, and I'd completely miss it for a second because I'm caught up in what's going on in the chat. Like, believe me, I do value you guys as guys and girls. I do value your comments and everything like that. But we're a disc golf podcast. Brodie's a new face in the sport. We're technically all faces of the sport. Right now, Matt and I have kind of become, in a sense, content creators, and we want to create content that everyone enjoys listening to and watching. And so when you have someone as fired up as Brodie about different areas in the sport, you can't say no to the opportunity of having him on. Brodie and I are friends. I loved having him on tonight. It kind of brings out a side to me that it's like, you know what? I can get loud for once. I don't know why, but now I can really get into conversation. But you kind of we got to make sure that we're all on the same page. Like, in a sort of sense, we're all in the same end goal of we want to grow the sport. We really do. I would never, ever, ever say, please, you know what? I do not want to grow the sport. I've jokingly said, oh, Maple Hill is too crowded. I got to go find a new course now. That's all in jokes and manners and everything like that. Like, we ultimately want to grow the sport. And yeah, I mean, we could ramble on about this whole thing. But
so let me say this. I see some comments coming in here. We have incredible followers right now, but that's because we don't have like 1 million. Once you hit 1 million, you probably have 800,000 who are not good. But here's the deal. We appreciate it all. So let me just see this here. Someone said have Terry Miller on the show. We've had him on the show. Someone said Brodie's not a seasoned pro, so it's hard for them to listen. Here's my take on that. What if you had somebody like that came from a very successful sport? Let's just say, no, I can't. I was going to say the NFL's, what's his name? Goodell, Roger Goodell.
Yeah,
nobody really likes him, commissioner. But like, let's pick a sport where it's been very successful and they come over to disc golf and we'd be like, you're not a seasoned pro, but like the dude's been doing it. Brodie's been making money in unique ways. Yeah. He's been in the PGA, all this stuff. I think he has a voice that's at the very least, needs or should be heard with respect. At least should be.
Yeah. And I think kind of to that point, Brodie
probably in that comment, more than mine.
Yeah. In that comment, it said Brodie's only played like 3 tournaments. What gives him the right kind of thing? He's played in more tournaments than that. He decided not to tour anymore because he was not doing well on tour. And shout out to him. He just gave us $20.
He's not making the money. He's giving the money.
What a nice guy. But
super chat.
I want to say really quick, like Brodie won a B tier this year. Brodie's been putting up 1,025, 1,030, 1,010 rated rounds. Like, no one thought he would hit 1,000 this year, and he potentially has the chance to hit 1,000 after VPO. So
I think that'll be excellent. And I'm going to say I've had hot takes about Brodie's game. And dinner on me, boys. Brodie, I had hot takes on your game, and I hope, and I say this genuinely, I hope you prove it wrong. I said I don't think. You ready, Brodie? This is going to fire. If you're still there, this is going to fire you up. And I say this with love because I'm a sports talk radio guy. I said, I don't think we'll ever see you in the top 3 at an event finish at a disc golf pro tour. That was, I said Paul,
dude, everyone's got hot takes.
I said Paul wasn't going to win MVP when he was here to his face. And Paul proved me wrong.
Exactly.
It's not that I'm actually saying what I want. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to make these hot takes. So, Brodie, I do hope you prove that wrong. I literally do. That I root for people's success. Nick, to finish out the show that's been now 3.5 hours long. This is our longest ever.
Brodie, appreciate you paying for dinner.
Nothing like having two contrasting personality types.
Yeah.
Chris Dickerson, literally, I think probably the far, maybe Calvin, but I think Chris is even possibly the more opposite. So people came for Dickerson, and then Brodie comes on later. We'll see how we split this show up. But Disc Golf Rich, just to finish it out, do we need to change the term? Paul awesomely picked up a McLaren. Incredible. $200,000 plus vehicle.
Yeah.
I literally, it's so cool.
It's sick.
It's not my money, so I literally don't care what he does with his money. And I think if I had the opportunity to buy one, I would probably do it too.
I'd buy an Acura NSX, but I'm biased.
Dude, but I think, is there any reason,
sick.
McLaren, is there any reason for that all?
To help Nick pay for all those
Brodie
lunches.
just did another super chat.
Brodie, you're the man.
Look at, wait, aren't you sponsored by him technically?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're getting like a double sponsorship?
Yeah, exactly. I'm getting like a triple sponsor right now.
Okay. But so anyways,
Brodie keeps slinging them checks. But yeah, McLaren,
McLaren, I think it just kind of, is that at all? Or is that just random?
No, I think that.
Okay.
I mean, he obviously likes McLarens.
Well,
so if you go back to my Instagram from a few weeks back at the Maple Hill Open, Paul and I jokingly went to an Audi dealership with Simon and Eagle to go look at Audi R8s, because that's kind of a car that he was saying is like a dream car to him. And we looked at them in person. We looked at the convertibles, the Spiders, and everything like that. But he didn't like the convertible, which he kind of wanted a convertible supercar and everything like that. And I think the McLaren just kind of came about, and boom, there we go. So
you're the reason.
Yeah, heck no.
I think we'll have to push this because the show's been so long, but I would like people to think about it, at least get people to think, is like, what does this mean? Does it mean anything for the disc golf world to have a professional who is able to, this is never, ever, ever, ever in the history of the sport, has a professional disc golfer been able to purchase something like a McLaren? Okay, now listen, we also are seeing things like house purchases. Chris Dickerson just told us he's doing that. The Oakleys purchased a house. Simon Lizotte just purchased a house. There's disc golfers everywhere now who are actually able to do that. The sport is changing. Yeah. Look at the change in the tide of disc golf.
The pro scene is really changing. Players
$20,000 payouts at the championship. It is starting to change.
Players are slowly starting to actually be able to make a comfortable living of this. And
do you think? No, you don't have to tell me this. Did Paul buy this cash? I feel like he did. I feel like he bought it cash. Yeah, Nick doesn't know. I just, like, in my head, I'm like, man, that'd be a baller move. Like, here's the cash. I'm buying it. Deliver it in a trailer to my house.
It did come in a trailer.
Yeah.
I have the picture of it. Sick.
So, and then finally, if you've made it this far, then I think I'm probably interested in your opinion because more of our true followers are making it this far.
The McLaren Jomez built.
You ready, Nick? This was where I was talking about disc golf rich and in a funny way for me. I collected the Disc Golf Pro Tour trading cards back when they first came out.
Yeah.
In 2016 was that first year when they were made, but they rolled out in like 2017, obviously for the 2016 year's cards. And I had somebody just hit me up this week. You ready? And I need your opinion. I was offered, and I'm just going to put this out there public. If he's listening and he finds our show, then here, I'm not saying your name, but I was offered $2,000 for the trading cards.
Wow.
$2,000 to hand over the full collection, everything. There was only 15 championship cards.
Yeah.
So that means there's only a possibility of 15 of these existing in the world, and that would be a maximum. I have one of them. For the sake in the history of disc golf, should I hold on to it forever and say I have a piece of it and there's only 15 other people max that could have this? Or do I say $2,000? And he goes, or $600 for the Wysocki champion card. So I can just sell one card for $600. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because I love collecting.
I can't answer that one because I've never been a collector.
So you would sell it?
Cards.
You'd be like, dude, $2,000.
I don't know. If it was something that I knew holds more value and will hold more value in the next 5 years, I'd hold on to it. Like,
man, everybody's commenting, don't sell it. And I think I was leaning towards
someone goes, buy cards. And Travis, I kind of figure you're kind of being sarcastic. I'm just replying to a comment.
All right.
But
we've made it to the...
Yeah, someone said earlier, we said, oh yeah, they can finally start making a comfortable living. And yeah, the top 10 to 15 are starting finally in the year 2020 to make somewhat of comfortable living. There's a large portion of people in the world that work a full-time job who are making more than them. I'm talking about there's more players nowadays not living out of cars than there were, 5 years ago. And there's still only 4 or 5 players who are actually making good money in disc golf. So, yeah, for a sport that's been around since the late 70s, it's not that great to only have 15, 20 people be able to comfortably, and I say that in quotes, comfortably live on tour. So
we've made it to the end of the show, Nick. Believe it or not, we've only beat our record by like an hour and
yeah, I know, right?
Hour and like 10 minutes.
I think we got kind of close to our live viewers though. Someone was saying earlier if we hit it, the last I saw on YouTube was like 530, and I think with Simon we had like 550.
Literally, we'll get a report later, but our live feed, like the viewer count, just like froze as soon as like everything started going up. So,
anyways,
here's how our weeks are going.
Yeah.
So
Christopher,
another super chat.
Narbo, we appreciate it. I think you super chatted us earlier as well, and I just want to say thank you for that as well.
Norwegian kroners or something.
Todd, I'm sorry, there's no more topics after almost 4 hours of rambling.
I think
we're gonna call it a night.
Yeah, I think we.
I think we're finally.
This is okay. So if this was your show style, you loved it, then let us know. Okay, so here's how it looks next week. Sorry to like everybody that finds us after the show. We are taking off next week. So that is whatever that is, November
Daniel, 4 more
12th.
Hours, yeah.
Right? Yes, November 12th.
Next week off. Yep.
November 19th. So the next week we're back on. So a week off.
With potentially a really
Can we say?
No.
Why?
Because I don't want it to potentially not happen and get our viewers hopes
You
up.
told me it would happen.
I mean, they said it would happen.
Okay.
Guys and girls, we're going to have 5-time world champion Paige Pierce on the show.
Okay, so you did say
that's the potential. November 19th. Write it down. We're going to have Paige Pierce on the show. Hopefully, she said to me that we are going to be able to do that. And then we're going to do an episode. We're going to take off Thanksgiving week, obviously. Travis Hawkinson, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate the super chat. That's insane. And so we're going to... Can you pull up the calendar again?
Nick,
what?
I've got like super high metabolism and people can see my feet right now. And my feet are like running, right? Because they're like, man, like Matt's running on the show. So we're taking off Thanksgiving.
Which is the 26th.
So we're taking off next week. We're back on the following. So the 19th. We're taking off the 26th, which is Thanksgiving. We're back on December 3rd.
Yep.
So hopefully Paige Pierce the 19th. And then for December, we've got guests lined up, hopefully to come in studio.
Yes.
That's our hope.
I haven't asked them yet, but you want to kind of shout it out. I'm gonna give it a go. So
right,
I'll text them tomorrow. So we want to have Simon Lazat and Casey White in studio. We're gonna set it up like we did with the Joe Mess crew and the Macbeths. We're just gonna have a fun time with those two. You can obviously see how Casey has grown insanely as a player and kind of a YouTube sensation on Simon's vlogs. So we're gonna check out all that, and then we're gonna take the rest of
this chat has made
December
me laugh
off.
so much tonight.
Yeah.
And it's made me cringe so much. People are calling it the Jerry Springer chat.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So, okay. We're going to end it out. Nick, say your little deal thing.
So everybody, please, if you enjoyed the episode, go onto your favorite podcast stations. Give us a review. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel, please. We're in the middle of the 3K giveaway. Tell someone you love them. We'll catch you in the next one.
Nick, you're awesome.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to the Nick and Matt Show. Be sure to check us out on your favorite social platform and to subscribe on iTunes.